We're starting to quiet down.
Yeah, plenty. Thank you.
They're getting ready for the tension of the meeting. You're gonna like move soon. Like,
I am in the ghosts.
Is that a 1 minute?
There you go.
Or 3 minutes?
I'm not sure. I think it's 3, because he always used to
No.
refer to 3 minutes.
Sue's got the gavel and the timer. She's like ready to
Well, I realize we're missing
gavel
that.
people out and
Matt is a father. He's a dad. He's a new dad.
Don't take that literally.
It was a pretty much a surprise.
Good for him.
Yep.
That's
A
awesome.
week ago.
mean, the
Week ago
timing.
tomorrow. So he decided to stay home.
fair enough.
A little girl.
Wow.
I know that's what everyone says. Wow. Not in a bad way, but I mean, it's just like,
It's
wow.
a surprise.
Say,
Yep.
what does wow
I'm
mean?
happy for
Yeah.
him.
A good surprise.
Surprised to be short.
Brad. Need a pen?
Oh, I got one.
Oh, apparently I got it.
I get up.
My hair was standing up or something.
Yeah.
Why are the fans on?
They've been on for.
They were on when I was setting up the room this morning too, so.
They've been on for probably 24 hours.
They're on for sport. Really, you can all watch us chase our papers around.
Yeah, that's it.
The dimmer.
That's our
Those are our
panic.
Don't just-
I'm going to excuse myself just for a second.
Yeah.
Joseph, do you want which of these fan switches is the front one?
Well, I tried to use both of them and neither seemed to work, but feel free to try the other buttons on there.
Papers are blowing away.
Yeah, see if you can turn them off. That would be great.
Looks like it slowed that one down.
We'll see.
Is everyone a bit silly, or am I just like catching?
Not just you.
You got paperweights right here. I was going to say, I kind of need mine.
Just hold on. All right, it's 6:30, and we're going to call this meeting to order. We'll do a roll call of the members. Matt Yeton is excused tonight. Susan Wood, me, that's here. John Christ,
Yep.
Phil Lamoureux,
Here?
Michael Bouchard,
Present.
Molly McCann,
Here.
Neil McIver,
Present.
Zach Terrell is not here tonight, Bradford Puffer.
Yep.
Should we seat Bradford Puffer as a voting member tonight?
Yep.
Okay. Review of the minutes from November 6th.
They look pretty good to me.
Would
I
anyone,
move we approve the minutes as written.
a motion and a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Negative? Abstain. Okay, communications received by the board.
Yeah, so a couple of communications to share. The first one is in your packet / on the table up front, and it is an informational communication, but it is fairly significant. It is the easement plan for the Midstate downtown parking lot. So that is 36 Main Street. As you may recall, back in 2022, the board placed a condition of approval on that site plan review, which was implementing really a condition of approval from a prior 2006 site plan on the same set of properties, which required the applicant to give the town a 25-foot wide access easement across the upper parking lot. The select board approved of that easement acceptance at their last meeting. So the next step is to record this easement plan and then record the deed, which Midstate has provided to us and has been reviewed by the town's attorney. So the easement plan, since it is a survey, does need to be filed with the planning board as per RSA 676-18-4. So here it is. Feel free to take a look. If you have any questions about it, feel free to ask. But you know, the big picture is the property is staying the same. There's no subdivision. It just reflects the easement across the front portion of the upper parking lot, access from Gould Terrace. And it does, once the plan is recorded and the deed is recorded, that will essentially wrap up that kind of ongoing issue there with the easement and be able to consider that completed, which will be great.
That's great. Does anybody have any questions or anything, comments?
I want two other quick communications then. The first one I'll just keep very brief. So the Office of Planning and Development next month, Thursday, December 18th at noon, is holding a webinar titled Best Practices for Planning Boards, Proposing Zoning Amendments, Hearing Applications, and Issuing Decisions. If anybody's interested, the registration is available online at nheconomy.com, which is the Business and Economic Affairs website. And that should be, I believe, a pretty good opportunity to refresh on some best practices and pointers.
What day is it and time?
18th at noon, December 18 at noon.
Thank you.
It looks like we have a message in the chat that the folks on Zoom cannot hear us. So
You're muted.
try to fix this. Are we all set from the Hemi Baker TV side as far as audio? All right, so then it is just a Zoom issue. All right, we'll get that sorted.
I can do it.
Thanks. Get the line of sight.
Wow, the mouse is really fiddly.
All right, hopefully that's better for folks on Zoom. Thank you for letting us know. So that webinar, again, is best practices for planning boards, tips on zoning amendment processes, conducting public hearings, and also for hearing applications. So again, could be a good refresher for folks, maybe get some practice pointers. And then the last communication is with regards to the Spear site plan review. We do have just one actually additional communication. A couple of them were shared with the board. A couple of communications were shared with the board just the other day. But there is one other letter from the Water and Sewer District, which I can either share with you now or share with you when the board is looking at that. It's up to you all how you want to proceed there.
We can do it when the board is, when we're reviewing it, then it will be fresh in our mind. That's it. Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you.
Amy Lee is going to speak to us about regarding switching the elected planning board members around. So there'll be a good time for if anybody has any questions. She's going to explain it to us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So the process is pretty simple. During a certain time period in January, you will come to file in my office. There's a form that we have you fill out. It starts on Wednesday, January 21st of 2026, and it goes to Friday, the 30th of January. The way that this board, I'm still sort of learning how it's going to all work, because I've reached out to the state about, we're going to stagger the terms so that every 2 years there'll be 2 people up for election. How that falls with who's up when, Joseph and I are still working out those details, but the process is simple. Wednesday, January 21st through Friday, January 30th, come into my office between 8:30 and 4 o'clock and fill out the form, and then that gets your name on the ballot. All open positions and their terms will be published online, in the newspaper, on our town website, and on the bulletin board outside of Town Hall, the first week of January, so we know everybody that's running, so that way anyone that wants to file a declaration of candidacy can come in during that time frame and put their name on the ballot. And it's really that simple.
And that's open to all registered voters.
It's all open to all registered voters. And the affidavit that you sign when you're filing the declaration of candidacy states that you have to be a registered voter domiciled in the town of Plymouth.
Now, how many positions will be open?
So it looks like there'll be, right now, what did we say? There'll be 5. So, and we're gonna stagger them. So like 1 will be for 1 year, 2 will be for the normal 3-year, and 1 will be for 2 years, if I think.
2
Yeah.
for 2 years.
Yep. So,
2 twos, 2 threes, and a 1.
correct. So it'll be staggered. Yeah.
Okay, so there'll be, the select board position will, of course, that won't be up for grabs, but there'll be one person in it, I think
Matt is the one who stays, I think.
Matt's position stays for 1 more year.
Correct.
And then, so, okay.
Yep.
Does anybody have any questions about the process or anything?
And it's new for me too, so bear with me if I don't know all the answers.
So just to repeat one more time, 2 seats for 3 years, 2 seats for 2 years, and 1 seat for 1 year.
Correct.
Okay.
So that way, every 3 years, you know,
So
it
they
will
will
be
be-
staggered
be up.
to correct.
Okay.
Yep.
In an
Stagger it in that way.
In an ideal year, if nobody has given up their seats, it would just be 2 3-year terms up every year.
Once we get through this.
Correct.
process.
Yep.
But what's happening is there were two seats were appointed for 1 year last year, so those are the 2-year seats that are up. And then I think the seat that I vacated was filled by Neil for a 1-year term, so that seat is up.
Yep.
Okay.
We can try not to all run for 3-year terms and have like
Right.
nobody running for
And,
Right.
and
2 or 1-year terms.
Right.
as the clerk, are you allowed to disclose who has registered for which positions when people submit their names?
Absolutely. Yep. And it's something that you can send me an email about, you know, who's applied for, who to be on the ballot. You can just ask me. I'm happy to disclose that information because it's all public record.
Does anybody in the public have any questions about this process? It is new for us, and
New for me too.
I know.
Doing my best.
And just to clarify, for those who haven't been following the planning board or anything for a while, we have been an appointed board until now, and last year's town meeting, that changed to becoming an elected board, and that's a process that kind of unfolds over time
Yep.
until we're all elected.
And it's RSA 673, and the chapters are 673.2, and 6 and 5. So I did read that, so I try and understand it, but I don't have a law degree, so I am reaching out to the state for guidance.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Everybody's all set? Thank you, Amy.
Yeah, of course.
You don't have to be a member of the board to run.
No, it's open to any registered
Correct.
voters.
Yep.
Anyone can run.
Okay, let's see, applications and public hearings. So we have Spear Memorial Hospital, site plan review, and a master sign plan application here. I hope everyone's gone through their packet when it was mailed. There's quite a bit to look through. The application for site plan review is to convert an existing office to a 3-unit, multi-family building at 44 Langdon Street. The building is located on parcel 108-033, which was merged with other lots owned by Spear Memorial Hospital, including lot 108-029, where the change of use is proposed. A master sign plan is also proposed to reconfigure signage across the Spear Memorial Hospital property. So, we're gonna have the board review the application to see if it's complete, and, hold on.
I'm curious how the address for Lot 33 is 44 Langdon Street, since none of Lot 33 fronts on Langdon Street.
So they are all merged. It's all one lot now.
It's one lot
All
now.
the properties owned by Spear Memorial Hospital, including that 33.
So is it everything but what's pink on this map?
Correct. And the corner lot on the corner of Highland and Langdon is owned by the church. So everything but those lots. If you want, I can give you the merger, all of the lot numbers here from the merger, because it was, I believe, 5. So those were lots 27, 28, 29, 32, and 33 that were voluntarily merged.
It's one big.
My main issue with the application is that we do not appear to have an up-to-date site plan provided. And so many of the items on our application checklist cannot be answered because we do not have a site plan. And we have a site plan that we received this afternoon via email that I printed on my own. That is dated from 1998. Revisions on February 2nd, 1998. So there is a site plan,
Partial site plan?
partial site plan, but it does not reflect the changes being proposed in the application.
It appears from the notes from the staff that there's quite a bit missing from the application. So I think should review all that, and there's no, I believe there's no waivers requested.
I think there is a narrative for a few waivers.
Right.
What I'm seeing here, which I believe is the most up-to-date piece, looks like this. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. So I see number 11, all lighting will be on the existing building and will be shown on the architectural drawings. And we do have facade drawings. Items 12 to 15. So there are many items on the checklist that are not present. We don't have written waiver narratives or explanations for.
Should we hear from the applicant to see if they have any thoughts, or do you want
Sure.
to discuss the completeness first, or?
We can do that. We can do whichever.
I think it makes sense to have the applicant.
Have the applicant?
Sure.
present
Is
their-
the applicant present tonight? Would you like to? Sure, right up at the podium, please. And please state your name.
Good evening, I'm Michelle McEwen, I'm the CEO for Spear Memorial Hospital. A brief intro, because I've got to speak to our application. As was noted, our application has two components to it. One is to convert an office building. It was really a residence when we purchased it in 1995, which was home and an attached apartment. We converted it to offices. In today's age, we've been able to consolidate our staff with remote working and other things that we don't need that for office staff anymore. But because we are faced with significant challenges with healthcare staffing right now, there's a national shortage, and we're having huge issues with affordability, that we've had individuals that have signed contracts to come to Spear and backed out because they could not find a home to live with. We've also had to use contract staff, and those are through agencies. They're traveling nurses, those types of things. And I've lost 10 of them who agreed to come and wouldn't come because they could not even find an affordable place to rent. So that's why we want to convert this to, we call it temporary or transitional housing. It will be just for healthcare workers. It'll be for those contract staff. They usually come up for a 13-week assignment. They can renew for multiple assignments. We don't let them stay for more than a year because if they like us that much, we'd like them to hire them as staff, not continue using them as contract staff. And the transitional housing would be if we are able to hire, giving these individuals a place to rent for a period or to live until they can find a home. So that could be anywhere from 6 months to a year potentially. But really it's just to help us address recruitment of staff and being able to continue having positions for people with contract staff. There isn't a site plan, or there's an old one there, We are doing nothing to the property. It's all internal renovations to the building. So there's one change on the facade, there's a dormer that will be removed, but other than that, everything is inside. It's really just change of use inside that building. We meet the parking requirements because we do have our employee parking right adjacent that we've now merged with that property, and we will designate at least 3 spots for parking for the individuals that will be renting or living in those apartments. So,
Okay.
I'm happy to address any specific questions on that, and then we can talk about that design plan.
Does anybody have any questions for us?
I don't think I do at the moment.
You do or you don't?
I do not.
I do not have any questions at the moment.
Okay. You good?
I have a question for staff. Did I read a recommendation that a special exception would be required for
Yeah.
multifamily use in the ICD?
Yep, that's
Or
correct.
in the
In civic and institutional.
institutional?
Yep, that's correct. A multifamily requires a special exception in the zone.
So it's our understanding that the entrance to these 3 apartments were on the first floor. We wouldn't need to go through this process, but because one of them has an entrance on the second floor is why we have to go through this in the last section.
The reason you need a special exception is because it's a type of use that in the zone where the building is required to get a special exception under the law of the zone. It doesn't really necessarily have to do with where the entrances are. It has to do with the use of the building.
Correct. But you can do multi-dwelling in civic institution. I might not have my terminology exactly.
It's fine, yeah, I understand you, yeah.
We met with Joseph before, because saying, well, this is how we read the zoning, can we do this? And that's where he explained to us that if they were all entrances at the first floor, we would not have to go through an exception.
Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so they're generally speaking, so in the CI zone, multifamily requires a special exception. Single family attached is permitted. So that's what's being referred to there. So single family attached buildings of up to 4 units are permitted, but only buildings which have individual units which do not share any which not have any units above or below and have their own entrance at grade count as single-family attached. It's a townhouse style use. Multifamily is a multi-unit building.
Can I ask for clarification? And jog my memory on this. We did not ask for like firewall suppression in single-family attached?
It is not in the zoning definition. That doesn't mean it's not in code.
That can be in.
Okay.
But it is not in the zoning definition, by my recollection. I will double check that.
And I suppose in this case it doesn't matter in the end anyway, because it's not going to classify as that. I was just kind of
No,
curious.
it's going to be
No, it doesn't.
multifamily.
Yeah.
It doesn't meet the way that the unit configuration is proposed or the way the use is proposed. It doesn't currently meet the definition of single-family attached. It does. but-
There has to be like an exact straight line, right, between
Correct.
the units, which I thought was a firewall, but maybe not. But
Yeah, I'll check that
But
terminology.
either way, it's not going to meet in this case.
Yeah, it is. I can read you the definition if you want. I did just check. We did not. Essentially, a single family attached is a dwelling unit that occupies a structure from ground to roof and is physically connected to another dwelling unit by at least one common wall extending from the foundation through the roof, and each dwelling unit has an independent private entrance, front and rear entrances in there twice. And multifamily is a residential building designed for or occupied by 3 to 6 families, with the number of families and residents not exceeding the number of dwelling units provided. So those are the two different uses. And this falls under dwelling multifamily.
Do they need a sprinkler system for that? I see this letter from Jason Randall.
So I don't know the answer to that. I'm sure perhaps perhaps Tom could answer that. My assumption is that probably it would. I believe that multifamily requires a sprinkler system, but that would be a code question, not necessarily a site plan review question. But it does, as Jason pointed out, if there is going to be a sprinkler system, this is Jason's letter, which we just received and is new this evening. Based on the district's service tie card, the building at 44 Langdon does not currently have a fire service, only domestic water. If a new sprinkler system is needed, Spear will need to install a new sprinkler service line from the water main to the building, as it is unlikely that the current domestic water service is large enough to satisfy sprinkler system flow requirements. So if in the code review it does require sprinklers, there would be that requirement from the water and sewer district.
Okay, thank you. So does anyone have any other questions? Do you have some further information that you'd like to?
So the second component is regards to the master sign plan. And I have someone here who will present on that, but just to give you some background. We have had numerous complaints from individuals that they cannot find the hospital, and I suspect because it's another brick building with all the college buildings or, right before it. These are obviously not locals. So they're having a hard time finding the hospital, and in particular, they're having a hard time finding our emergency department. Unfortunately, we've had people that actually go to the fire department to ask where the emergency room is. So this is life or death situation. So we really think it's important to improve the overall wayfinding to our building, where our main entrance is, where we have numerous parking lots and numerous entrances to various practices, where the emergency room is, those types of things. And we're just trying to accommodate that to try to better meet the patient's needs and our community's needs. So with that, I'd like to ask Roy to go over the plan. Thanks.
I'm Roy Whitaker from Paquette Signs. I was hired, first of all, does everybody have a copy of this? Okay, and I thought I might just offer myself as, provide some context to what the work we did and answer questions. The idea was for us to survey pedestrian traffic and vehicle traffic to and around the property regarding signage, right? So how do people drive there or walk there? When they get there, where do they park and where do they walk to? And so the suggestions that the recommendations we have in that plan are based on that survey.
Does anyone have any questions?
The components of the plan are wayfinding and institutional identification.
It looks in keeping with, our own, it's a master site ordinance anyway, so some of there's more flexibility there anyway. But, it looks in keeping with what I would expect to find at a hospital for wayfinding.
Yes.
And insofar as it looks like common hospital signage, people will know what they're seeing and what to look for, and that's a good thing.
The renderings are very helpful. Thank you.
Sure.
And I do agree the sign is small. After I saw this in my packet, I deliberately went by, and I've never noticed it before because I know where it is. But in looking at it, I can see where someone would miss it, especially if they're in an emergency situation. And
Yeah.
so I do agree, it is small.
There's only one sign in these recommendations that does not require a variance, and it is a street sign, which probably should have been already there at the corner of Avery and Highland. The rest do require a variance.
So what is the board? Where's the board at?
Yeah, I'm still stuck on the site plan. Go ahead.
Part of me is saying it is a change of use and not really
Right.
changing the building itself. And another part of me is saying it's not a huge lift to get an updated
Right.
site plan to go along with that change of use.
Right.
And typically, we'd ask for that prior to an acceptance of an application, much less an approval.
So yeah.
On the other hand, like, it doesn't seem like a big lift, and I imagine they could, like, make this happen. I want to see this move forward in some way. At the same time, I'm not sure we're going to accept it as a board or approve it as a board without the without the site plan, and like updated site plan. And I wonder if, kind of like 6 of one, half a dozen, like.
I
If
really.
it does not accept, and then I'm not sure it would actually change the timeline if we actually want a site plan anyway for approval eventually. I'm not sure if I'm being clear.
I would, given the merger of all these properties, I think it would make sense to require a full site plan for the parcel.
Prior to acceptance.
Prior to acceptance is complete.
However, there's also a special exception requirement
Yeah,
for the change of use and a variance requirement for the signage.
yeah.
My recommendation would be for us to make a decision regarding those so that the applicant can move forth with application to the ZBA to seek the variance and the special exception and work on the site plan.
And can you clarify when you say move forward with those, you mean in a tentative way or as in an approval sort of way? That would be, we have one application here.
Which, yeah, and one component requires a special exception for the change of use for housing, and one requires a variance for signage. They could go to the ZBA for the special exception because it's defined as to what the decision is. A variance, they need to appeal a decision either by the planning board or the town code enforcement officer. So they have to have a decision by a board to appeal, to go to the ZBA for a variance. We can offer that tonight.
So I do think, I completely support this idea, generally speaking. It makes a lot of sense to want to turn this building into housing based off of the narrative given to us. But I do think it's very important for us to have an accurate site plan so that the town can have a record of what truly is going on in the building, even if it is just a change of use, so that our records are clear and we don't have our records get messed up later down the line. I also think, it'll be, if we know that people are going to be living there, it's good for us to have our due diligence to really see where the parking spots are and really see where the dumpster is. And, they will probably have to get a commercial water line put in, so we need to see that as well. And so I really want this project to move forward, but I think as a board, it's important for us to have all of those ducks in a line.
Can I just circle back to something Phil said for a moment?
Sure.
Joseph, for clarification. I know there's sometimes disagreement about this, whether or not you need to have something go through a planning board with a kind of up or down before you go to the ZBA for an appeal. I believe that's not actually true, even though it's often construed as true.
Okay.
Do you have any input on that?
Yes, so certainly to appeal an administrative decision, you need a administrative decision made either by the planning board or an administrative official of the town. A variance, as you said, you do see different practices in different communities. There's nothing specific in our zoning board's bylaws that says it must be in response to a decision that's been made. Certainly an appeal, though, would require that decision. So a variance.
It could just go immediately.
You do see this practice differently in different towns, and I would say there's no specific parameter in our bylaws that clarifies one that you must
The
do.
RSA defines it that way, but I may be wrong.
And I was asking specifically this so like the applicant would know like which way to go in terms of that series of events.
So you're saying the applicant could go to the ZBA to get a variance before
I think it
a
could go,
site plan review?
I believe it could go either way.
So they could get the variance and get the special exception and then come before the planning board, or they could try to go before the planning board and then potentially get a conditional approval? Is that what you're saying?
I believe there's a few different paths forward here,
Okay.
and that might, yeah,
Okay.
be options.
Sure.
I agree. I think the site plan needs to be in place. I think that's key for everybody, neighbors, us, the future,
Yeah.
them.
So the decision is that sounds like the consensus of the board is that the application is not complete without a full site plan,
Yeah.
and that we can't accept it as complete without that.
That's what it appears. Neil, do you have any input?
No?
Mike?
And it sounds like if we're heading in this direction, and I don't know, maybe Joseph or Sue or someone can clarify, if we don't accept the application as complete, we can do that without like prejudice. We need to reapply. Correct?
There's a few, there are a few different
I
courses
know
of
we've been
action.
talking about this lately a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one, right? So the board could handle a lack of acceptance in a couple of different ways. There's a denial without prejudice, which is a true denial. The application is no longer valid. The applicant would need to bring in a new application if the application was denied without prejudice for lack of information. That's one way to look at it. There's also the board could provide a written decision stating that, well, the board in any event has to provide written facts supporting a finding that the application is incomplete, listing what would need to be provided for the application to be complete. The board has, at other times in the past, tried to split the difference and give the applicant a specific time frame to say, come back to the board by such and such a date. The board would clearly define that date in its decision, as well as the reasons why they found the application incomplete. Often in those cases, the board has required the applicant to renotice the public hearing, since when an application is not accepted, the public hearing actually can't be opened. So there's not an ability to continue a public hearing for something like that. So that's kind of a somewhere in between, but still would be something the board needs to document the findings of fact that support its decision to not accept an application. So it really does fall kind of on a discretion of the board as far as which route the board would like to go, I would say, in that case.
I really support the project. I think it's a great idea. I support it wholeheartedly. But I just feel like everybody involved, and if we allow it to go through without all this information, time gets out of our hands.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, different boards are on, and it just becomes a mess.
Yep.
The third option that Joseph just gave, I think is something that we can work with, if that's.
I would agree.
So do we want to set a window of time? Do we have to set a window of time? We don't have to.
I would say that the board, it would probably be advisable to set a time frame at least to check back in,
Right.
because if the project, say, were to be abandoned
Yeah.
at some point and the decision on acceptance was still kind of pending, so to
Right.
speak, no formal acceptance, no formal denial, that it may be good to just at least have some kind of check-in. I mean, the board could consider a couple of different options, or perhaps discuss with the applicant if the applicant has a timeline that they think they could meet.
Yeah, I was just going to say, is it okay to ask the applicant what is a reasonable amount of time for them to get this to us?
And
I think that sounds.
Is that-
yeah.
yes, absolutely.
Applicant?
I don't know about the availability of someone to be able to do a site plan, but we can make some inquiries and see if we can get that done as soon as possible. I guess I have a process question. I don't know, am I allowed to ask that?
Sure, could you
Come
stand
on
up to
up,
the
yeah.
podium?
Sure.
Thank you.
So, I would like, if possible, is there a way that we could resubmit the application for this master sign plan so that we could proceed with that and not have that held up for the
Site plan.
site plan?
The only danger there is that might be a new application, which has new application fees.
Yeah.
And would you concur with that, Joseph, or?
That is so as of right now, it's one site plan review application with a master sign plan application. As defined in the zoning ordinance, a master sign plan does have to be a part of a site plan application, so I would, just a thing to keep in mind is that, filing a whole site plan review application just to have a master sign plan might be burdensome in terms of the fees and things, as you mentioned. I suppose there's no reason someone couldn't bring in a new application for that, but it wouldn't be sort of under this same extended.
It would have to be a
purview.
completely distinct application.
That would, if I'm understanding the
Yeah,
question correctly.
I think so too,
So,
yeah.
Is there any way we can work around that to try to accommodate the sign portion? But do they have to get a variance for this sign?
So there,
Oh.
oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying to myself, it's a little bit dangerous to say this, I guess, but like, it sounds like we're all in support of this master sign plan, even though we can't really say like yes to it, obviously, at this point. And it's going to take a little bit of time to go through these ZBA anyway. So if that can start to be a process, perhaps, while the rest of the application comes in, I don't see many hangups in this except for getting that site plan.
Yeah, without
And-
information, that's it.
Again, we can't really vote and say yes for the master sign plan at this point, but it seems like tacitly, at least, we are in favor of it. And maybe if we get that process, or you can get that process rolling, while we also get the site plan process rolling, we can kind of start, because you can't really start that anyway until you go through the ZBA. So there's already a kind of block on time here. And I think if we get a few balls rolling at the same time, you might be able to be most expeditious.
Can we decide to continue this to our meeting in,
January? Or
I
in
was thinking 3 months, because the ZBA would need time to receive an application,
Uh-huh.
post it, have the initial hearing, and then I don't believe they can hear it the same month, right? They would always schedule the actual hearing a month later.
So they could
could.
do a same day, or they could do a multiple day. They have, I believe the statute allows 90 days. Generally, they don't go that far. It's unusual, but.
Where are we now in the notification cycle for the ZBA?
So we're beyond the application deadline for December, so any application submitted now would be for the first Tuesday in January.
January.
At the next meeting.
Can we ask for them to
Which
come
is the
back
6th of January.
by our February meeting?
February meeting?
February business meeting would be the same, would be a normal schedule, right? So
Yeah, what would be that date?
it's the 19th of February.
2/19. So would that February 19th
We could at least have a check-in.
come back? Right.
I mean, we'll make every effort possible.
Yeah.
I mean, that would.
That'll give you a chance to go to the zoning board.
Variance and the special exception, and if you have time
And
to put a
site
site
plan.
plan together, by then, we could consider completeness at that point.
Yep. Does that sound reasonable? Is that okay?
And otherwise, I think all really sound like we support this project, and we want to make it happen, I think, but
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
All right, so do we need to do?
Do we have to vote on that?
So the board
Finding-
should
we need
make
to findings of
fact
fact.
and a vote. And I would say the findings of fact do need to specifically include the things that, I mean, the board has talked about these
Yes.
items that the board wants to see, but I would do a specific listing of those and other facts as are relevant to the decision.
So a finding of fact is that the applicant did not submit a site plan that reflects the changes being proposed, as well as the elements required in the checklist. So they need to submit a site plan that reflects the changes proposed, as well as making sure that all of those items on the checklist are shown as well. And if they want any waivers for any of those items, they need to submit a narrative about those waivers.
well done.
I wrote it out.
Pretty much covers it all.
And they also need to get a special exception
The variance,
and a
variance
variance
for the
prior
sign.
to, for the sign,
before we can.
consider the application complete.
Actually,
We
I'm not-
could accept it.
We can accept it as
Can't
complete.
approve it.
Could we conditionally approve
We
it?
could,
Yeah.
it's a better idea. It's safer to get the special exception
I would
beforehand.
prefer-
Ideally, if you could have all that beforehand, that'd be great. If not, yeah.
I'm not a fan of conditional approval, only because if the
On the basis of
ZBA
it, yeah.
has
of a variance.
conditions that require them to change their plan, and we approve the
Oh,
plan as
yeah.
it's
Yes.
submitted, then they have to resubmit an application.
Yeah.
My personal feeling is it's better to not conditionally approve when we're waiting on the decision of the ZBA for
Yeah.
a special exception or variance.
I'd agree.
Although I'm just gonna put one caveat in that, since this is like a two-part plan, we could conditionally approve the plan with a compliance hearing on part of it, which would allow one half to go through potentially if it came to that.
But if it's one plan, I mean, it's a two-part plan, but it's really one site
One,
plan.
yeah.
It's one.
But you could have a
Like site
compliance
plan
hearing
application.
on the half that's like still pending. If it comes to that, I mean, it might not even come to that, but like,
It'd be best if it didn't.
and if in
So
3
for
months
now,
we
we're
have to
working on
have that
findings of
conversation.
fact.
Yeah, I know.
So do we have any other findings of fact that, I mean, Molly pretty much covered everything for the,
What's missing?
I think it's important to indicate that I think there's broad acceptance by the members of the board that
Yeah.
the
It's
goals of the
supported.
lighting plan are supported by the board, but the lack of existing site plan for the facility becomes difficult to approve a change of this magnitude.
Does there need to be in the finding of fact that we're going to, the applicant needs to also be aware that they will be responsible for, hold on a sec. They will be responsible for paying for the renotice of the hearing.
Do we need to renotice it if we're continuing it?
We're not
We haven't
continuing because
opened
there's
it.
no public hearing.
I think that we've noticed the public and that this meeting is sufficient to notify them that our next meeting will be on February 19th.
Are we allowed to do that?
can we do that, Joseph?
So generally, when you open a public hearing, you can continue the hearing to a date certain without renoticing it.
Even though we're not.
But we're not opening up a public
Right.
hearing.
If it's-
We're having a continued site plan application consideration.
Right, so the hearing hasn't been opened yet, so there's no hearing to continue. I'm not sure of the legality of continuing, of not noticing a hearing on a future date when one hasn't been opened with a date certain announced. I don't know the answer to that, but generally, the board can continue a hearing that's been opened as long as they announce a specific time and date for that to be continued without renoticing.
It sounds like the board's sympathetic to no further fees, but we don't know if it's actually viable.
Correct.
I believe it's viable.
And that could be checked perhaps. Well, wait, as a select board member.
I can't make decisions.
No, you're not, I can't make them on your own, of course not.
So do we have enough? Is that good for the findings of fact?
I think those are very
No
thorough.
motion needs to be made.
I would still do a
Okay,
motion.
so a motion to,
I would suggest that the motion be something to the effect of, in light of the findings of fact, the board motions to continue or to revisit the completeness review for Spear's site plan and master sign application at their meeting on February 19th.
So moved.
so moved, yeah.
Okay, so we have it on the floor and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And abstentions. So we'll see you in February.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We look forward to it, thank you.
All right, now we move on to the public hearings on the zoning amendments, which are under consideration for the 2026 town meeting. The first one we're going to do is zoning amendment 1, which is to amend to Article 2, 3, 4, and 12. To make several changes to bring the zoning ordinance into compliance with recent changes to state law.
I raise a question here?
Sure.
And it might be a Joseph question. I've heard rumors that on the docket for the next year's House sessions, there's proposals to roll some of these back.
Oh, Lord.
Oh,
You ask a really good question.
And some communities are actually trying to hold off until, like, since it all goes into effect anyway, regardless, and maybe not even make changes until it all gets shaken out.
So, yes, you are correct that I have probably in the neighborhood of 50 pieces of legislation on my monitoring list for next legislative cycle that in some way would interact with planning and zoning.
Wow.
Here's the thing. Some of those would go further than the changes made last year. Some would roll back some of the changes made last year. It really is impossible to predict how that's going to shake out. It's generally not advisable for the text of our zoning ordinance to be in direct conflict with state law. And I would say, while that is true, that even if our zoning ordinance is in conflict with state law, the state law supersedes, it can create quite a bit of confusion for folks in that time frame because people may not always know. So if they're looking at our zoning ordinance and they're assuming what they see is correct, it sort of creates a situation where people may not really understand what they can and can't do, and in fact, it might create more confusion and potentially, I would say, could be potential legal risks to that. I don't have legal input on that specific question, but I would say that's the general advice that I have seen, and I think is sensible that if the time comes and some of the changes are undone at the state level and the board wants to revisit a question, the board always could consider another zoning amendment in future years, but
I think I agree. That's probably the best practice. I've just been hearing about towns like scrapping it all just because of uncertainty, but I think it is good to keep up, even if it means keeping up again next year.
Yeah.
My feeling is the same. I think we should do our best to keep our town ordinances as close to the required
State law.
state RSAs as possible, and if people are unhappy with seeing multiple zoning amendments every year to comply with state law, they should take it up with their legislators.
Yeah, that is
Here.
kind of what it comes to. is
all
that-
right, so then the first one we open up for public hearing. Now, how, are we gonna read this whole thing through? Or what are we doing here?
If you would like to, I will volunteer to at least read the cover page, which is a summary.
Okay, and then if there's any questions when we open up the hearing, they can ask for more clarification?
Yes.
Does that sound?
Does everyone in the public have access to the zoning amendments as printed and from the handouts?
Great.
Does everyone know what a zoning amendment is?
Anybody need one? No? Okay.
So is it worth addressing the public just to say this is the first of 2 required zoning amendment hearings, and at the end of our hearings, we will, as a board, we will decide if we will vote to put these to the voters at town meeting. So it's not given that these are going to go to the town. We're soliciting public feedback on these proposed amendments at this meeting and likely at another meeting. And if the board votes to put these to the town, they would be up on the ballot at town meeting. So.
Yes, anybody that gets up to speak, we take everyone's input, and we can make changes to this after these hearings, and we will have another hearing on the change, if there is one. So everyone that speaks, just know that you're being heard.
Okay,
So Molly, go.
so our first amendment that we propose to be on the ballot in March are the amendments that will bring our zoning ordinance into compliance with new state laws. So they affect Articles 2, 3, 4, and 12 of our current zoning ordinance. Article 3 and 4 revises the table of uses to allow for multifamily dwellings by right in the highway commercial zone, and it amends Section 405 of the zoning ordinance to allow change of use for certain non-conforming structures when all other standards are met. Section 411, this will change the residential parking minimums required to 1 space per dwelling unit and will limit the overparking provisions, and limits to overparking provisions will apply only to large non-residential parking facilities with 40 or more required spaces. Section 416 is changes to the accessory dwelling units from a special exception to permitted use by right in single-family residential, and adjusts related ADU definitions and standards so that the zoning ordinances align across the whole document. The changes made in Article 12, Section 1204.3, removes additional residential special exception criteria in the village commercial zone, which differentiates between related and unrelated families. So we are no longer allowed to regulate by relationship. And lastly, Article 2, we will delete the definitions distinguishing related and unrelated families. So that's in compliance with the change that is required of us in Article 12 as well. So there's a lot of jargon in there.
It is, and it's state changes.
Yeah.
We just need to read like they do.
Yep.
So, if everyone's ready, we'll open up the public hearing at 7:22. Anyone from the public like to speak? Please come to the podium and state your name.
Good gavel.
Tom Newcomb, Code Enforcement Officer and a Plymouth resident. I actually have just a couple quick questions for Joseph. Joseph, in looking at the language in our ADU zoning, the third and fourth lines of this section refer to maintaining the visual and functional character of single-family residential neighborhoods. And then further down, under letter I, it states that the architectural and design of the ADU should reflect that of the primary residence. But the statute as rewritten by House Bill 577, it states a municipality may not apply aesthetic standards to the accessory dwelling unit only if it has applied such standard to the principal dwelling unit. So, do you have any concerns that where our language is still applying a aesthetic design and the statute does not allow it, where we don't have that in place for residential units?
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, I think it's a good comment. I mean, the board certainly could update the amendment to take that language out. In the legal review, that wasn't something that was flagged as being an issue, but I do agree that, you know, as written, if that were to be applied in such a way as to apply an aesthetic standard that is different than what would be applicable to any home, which in Plymouth we don't have an architectural review board or anything like that. So we're not typically reviewing architectural plans for aesthetic conformance to the surrounding neighborhood or architectural sort of visual guidelines. If we were to do more serious aesthetic review for the single family, we could do that to the ADU. But I agree. I think it would be certainly possible to take this out and could make it more clear that it complies with state law. I think that's a good comment.
So that was under Section 2 provisions?
It's
Letter
I.
I.
Letter I.
Aye.
Section
Thank you.
2I, second sentence.
Yep, thank you.
Also, almost seems like two unrelated.
Yeah.
issues.
Right? Anyone else have any comments? No? Anybody online, Joseph?
We have a few folks online. Nobody has raised their hand or unmuted themselves, but certainly if they would like to make a comment, they should be able to do so.
All right, then I guess we can close the hearing at 7:26.
Before I move on, can I propose that we strike the second sentence of section 2I that says the architecture and design of the ADU should reflect that of the primary residence, and amend this for our next hearing.
Yeah, I think that if that's what the state law says, then
Yeah.
we should do it.
So we have a motion? Do we-
Hearing scheduled for,
That was a motion.
That, okay, so you move to strike the second sentence from section
Yep.
2I.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second? Second?
we have a date on the motion of the next hearing?
Oh,
No
and
hearing associated with the motion at this.
I thought you said
It
move to
was
our next
just
hearing.
to the next hearing. We're required to have two.
No, I know, but like, do we need to have
a date,
of
we
that?
do, yeah.
If we're going to, yeah, so if we're going to make any substantive change to an amendment, we do need to hold a second hearing on it. The next work session is not one that can feasibly be noticed for a new zoning amendment hearing. We already have one hearing scheduled for that. That's December 4th.
We'll have to go on the 18th.
So it could go on December 18th, or it could go on either of the meetings in January as the second public hearing, which would be the 15th and the 22nd, because the board did reschedule that work session.
Excuse me, Sue, can I make a point of order?
Sure.
I just want to point out that it also, in line, at the middle of line 3 of the purposes of intent, it also refers to while maintaining the visual and functional character of single-family residence neighborhood.
Where was that?
Where was that now?
If you look at the purpose of intent, the beginning of the article, the third line down,
Yeah, it says-
halfway through, it says while maintaining the visual and functional characters of single-family residential neighborhoods.
Okay, so that needs to come out as well, right?
Good catch.
That one's
more
a little
general,
Yeah, that one's more general, I think.
I don't know. It's,
I guess the word visual is less general.
yeah. It really is
And-
talking
and
about
functional.
design, though. To say the visual standards. it
But
really is.
it's not, it doesn't specify how that happens, and there are other,
It's gray enough that I don't think we lose anything by taking it out. As
Would
long as
it,
it meets our dimensional standards and all the other kind of life safety stuff that,
would it make sense to keep, for it to read while maintaining the functional character of a single-family residential
I would
neighborhood?
support
Yeah.
that.
So just striking the word visual?
Visual and.
yeah.
And?
So do you want to amend your motion?
I'm going to amend my motion to strike visual and from the third line of the purpose and intent statement so that it reads, in accordance with NHRSA 674:7173, the purpose of this ordinance is to expand the mix of affordable housing opportunities in town by permitting the creation of a secondary dwelling residence as an accessory use to existing single-family detached dwellings while maintaining functional character of single-family residential neighborhoods for the following reasons, and then I'm not going to read the enumerated.
So you-
Okay.
I don't think you need to do that.
So, Molly, I think because I amended, you.
I will second
You
that.
seconded, you have to second my
I will
amendment.
second again.
Okay, thank you.
And that would be for our January,
Do we need to schedule it now, or can that just be at the discretion of the chair?
I would suggest that the board schedule the new hearing in the motion to amend the amendment, or the board could motion to change the amendment and then revisit hearing scheduling. But if the board wants folks who might be here for the
Let's
hearing.
put the date in. Let's
Speak up.
figure out the date.
question? Since we're having, like, we're kind of throwing the kind of schedule aside a little bit right now anyway, with having zoning amendment hearings at a work session, I mean, at a business meeting. Do we know if anything is coming down the pipe? I mean, we won't know for sure, I suppose, for another kind of week or so, but does it look like it's going to be so far a not particularly busy meeting?
You mean the 18th of December?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we don't have any applications for that meeting at this time. The board did get that copy of the settlement agreement that did indicate that in the next, probably at this point, 80 days, we'll be getting a site plan review application, but nothing has been received for the December meeting at this
You
time.
disagree, Phil?
I think it's just busy. I'd rather move it to
Post-holiday?
January 15th or 22nd.
I feel
But-
co-
but-
Which one-
But honestly, the schedule is the discretion of the chair. Do you have a preference?
I don't have a preference. I guess January 15th?
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so does that go in your,
I think it's good to notice it. I don't think it has to be part of the motion.
okay, so we have a motion and a second,
And at your discretion, it will be scheduled on the January 15th.
and it will be January 15th for the next hearing on that. Okay, so is everyone in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? And abstain.
All right.
Okay, so that
One.
zoning amendment number
Two
one.
is actually pretty easy, isn't it?
Yep.
Or in language and theory at least.
Somebody else want to read it, or should I
I
keep
can read
going?
it.
You should do it. Yeah, take your turn.
Okay, so amendment number 2. John, take it away.
Amendment number 2, which it has to do with the removal of ADU owner occupancy requirements. Updates Article 4 to remove owner occupancy requirements associated with accessory dwelling units. The amendment would remove Section 416.2B, which establishes the requirement that either the principal dwelling or accessory dwelling unit, ADU, must be owner occupied. All other ADU standards, including maximum size, bedroom limits, and parking requirements, would not be impacted by this amendment. The remaining sections would be renumbered accordingly.
Thank you.
And at the tail end of reading that, I'll say, if anybody out there has questions about, like, what this even means, please, that's a reason to come to the podium and ask, as opposed to just, like, having issues with the language.
Yep.
All right, so I'm going to open up this hearing at 7:37. Anyone from the public like to speak? Step up to the podium, please, and state your name.
I guess it's just me again. Tom Newcomb,
We appreciate your input, Tom.
Yes.
Building Inspector, Code Enforcement Officer, and resident. I think everyone in this board knows that I'm a big fan and supporter of ADUs, but I do have some concerns. Especially with the way that over the past few years, the state has been eroding local control. We've seen it in a couple instances tonight. We can no longer limit to just 2 adults in an ADU. We don't have any say over how they look and blend into the neighborhood. We no longer have the right to be able to examine them on a case-by-case basis through either a special exception or a conditional use permit. So state's been whittling away at our control. The issue that I have with this is that our zoning has a multifamily zoning district for a reason, and that's so that we limit where we have two-family absentee owner situations. So right now, 2 families are allowed in the multifamily district and in the ag district. And the ag zone, density is not an issue. This will open it up so that we will be having the possibility of basically, it opens up the entire single-family district to 2 families by allowing this. And this is not just fear-mongering. I can speak of 2 specific instances. One, I happened to get a phone call today from a investor looking to buy a house in the ag district. It's a 5-bedroom house with a 2-bedroom ADU. Avery, he stated that he talked with you earlier in the day about it. And his intent is to buy it, rent it out to 14 college students. So they also it's not an isolated incident, it's also because there's a house in this single-family district that is a 5-bedroom house on approximately 10,000 square foot lot in the residential district. It has 5 bedrooms. It's all being rented out to college students. The owner had applied to this board for a conditional use permit to have a detached accessory dwelling unit. He misrepresented the fact that he lived there, that it was owner occupied, and was granted the conditional use permit. I granted him a building permit based upon that, and then during construction, I learned that he does not live there. I spoke with the people, and they said they had no intention of living there and that they were going to be renting it out to more college students. And so I told them that I would not be issuing a certificate of occupancy for it. So that's that's two situations where we could potentially have 14 people, living in a small area that is not designed for that purpose. Granted, those might be extremes, but there are houses out in the district that allow that there might be 3-4 bedrooms. You put a two-bedroom accessory dwelling unit on it, and you allow the entire structure to be rented out, then we got a situation like that. Just want to also point out that the New Hampshire Department of Business and Economic Affairs, every year, they do a land use regulation survey, surveying different towns and communities. Of the 211 municipalities in New Hampshire that have accessory dwelling unit zonings, 179 of them require that the primary dwelling of the owner be one of the units. So I strongly urge this board to not support this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that noise from?
Yeah, if everybody on Zoom could please just mute themselves while the hearing is open in the room, that would be great. So we have a couple of folks online.
I think somebody's
You have
open.
something to say?
Although
Unless, yeah.
this is a good time to open this up to people who have input as well.
Yeah, does anybody online have any comments, or anyone else in the public here? Somebody's open.
Doesn't
but-
sound like it's coming from.
Can you mute someone from your
Yeah,
account or no?
yeah, you can.
All right, with no more, we will close it at 7:39.
We might have to deal with chatter in the background.
Yeah, I'm not sure if folks who are on Zoom and not muted, definitely, if you could just please mute yourself until such time as the board opens it up for Zoom comment, so there's no disruption to the other commenters.
Okay, does the board have anything to say about any comments or anything?
I would like to move it forward as is. I'm not making a motion yet then.
Without having another hearing on it, or?
No.
So you don't want to make any changes to it?
I'm satisfied with
Okay.
what we've created.
Anyone else input on that?
The intent is clear. I think the intent is sufficiently clear to put to voters if there's support for it. I'm not sure I'm going to support it, but
Well, that's okay.
that's not what our role should be.
Oh.
That's true.
Anyone else?
It's a well-written amendment, and it's
Yeah.
up to the voters to decide whether they want it or not.
I agree. I have been a proponent of that thinking,
Yeah.
regardless of the amendment. If there's public input in support of it and it's well written, I think we can put it to voters for their input.
Okay, so do we need to have another hearing on this, the way it is? Or should we just,
There's no reason not to.
Yeah, I think we should have another hearing. Yeah.
I agree.
Double negative.
What's that?
Double negative.
You know. Okay, so when do we put this, when,
That's a reason not to. Yeah. Right. Yes.
so what's our schedule at for, we just put this other one on the 15th.
I
Let's
move
keep it together.
that we move this forward as is amendment number 2 to a second public hearing on January 15th.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Abstention. So that will be, the next hearing will be January 15th on zoning amendment number 2. Whoa. Okay, amendment number 3.
Actually, can I ask you, take one moment to pause?
Of course.
With your logic, Phil, of moving something, which I agree with wholeheartedly, moving something to the public so the public can decide, as long as it's a well-written amendment that they can decide on, because they are the legislative body in this town. However, all amendments and warrant articles have to go forward with or without the endorsement of the board. And I guess we can still have that vote, whether or not we endorse it and still put it forward. We can not endorse it and put it forward.
Can we?
It's just that, it's a question, it's like,
Is that possible?
We don't have to endorse it.
but we can still put it forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Interesting.
just want to note that I did get a comment that the folks on Zoom can't hear due to some of the chatter from other folks on Zoom. So if the chair's okay, I can switch the Zoom so that folks can have to request to unmute themselves. And then when the public hearing is open, people can make those requests and we can open it up because it sounds like the people on Zoom can't hear.
Might I suggest that we make it clear to the participants of Zoom that if they wish to offer comment, that they use the raise hand feature, and then we'll unmute them.
Okay.
Does that
Yeah.
sound good to the board?
Didn't mean-
That's fine.
Just to respect the people who are on
preempt your
Zoom.
comment on that.
Is everybody on mute now, or did
Yeah.
you put them on mute?
It looks like everybody is now.
Okay,
So maybe we'll see if that works.
okay. So zoning amendment number 3. This is to establish a Tenny Mountain Overlay District. Who would like to jump into this one?
I can do it again.
Oh, I just
Molly's good, yeah.
I'll let Molly.
If you want to do it, go ahead.
I vote.
Okay. So zoning amendment number 3 establishes an overlay district, which is, as it sounds, a district that sits on top of an existing zone. So in that specific area, there are different uses allowed and different parameters of use as well.
And you're still allowed to use the underlying zoning.
And
if you
you're
choose.
still allowed to use the underlying zoning. The underlying zoning does not change.
But you can only use one or the other.
Thank you, yeah.
Yeah.
So, this adds a new article to our zoning ordinance. It's called Section 5A, and it has corresponding definitions in Article 2, which is our definitions section of the zoning ordinance. So this creates a new overlay district to encourage recreationally compatible mixed-use development, including higher intensity master planned development in West Plymouth. It creates a new overlay district covering the lands west of Route 3A / Mayhew Turnpike and 500 feet east of Mayhew Turnpike. The district serves as an optional alternative to the underlying zoning to promote four-season recreational, residential, and commercial uses consistent with our master plan. The overlay district allows for what's called a planned unit development, or a PUD, or PUD. You'll often hear us call it a PUD. Within the overlay, providing flexible design standards and mixed-use opportunities. Village core areas could be proposed within a PUD of 250 acres. So a planned unit development has to be 250 acres minimum in order for a village core to be allowed. Village cores would allow for inclusion of higher density mixed-use development and increased height limits. This also adds related definitions to Article 2, including resort recreational facility, recreational ski area, conference center, live-work units, and fractional ownership units.
Thank you.
Ask a slight kind of procedural question. Not maybe procedural. I'm not sure how to describe this. I think most of us know what West Plymouth is. Do we recognize West Plymouth as a village of Plymouth or as something
No, I thought about
with
that.
a
don't.
capital
It's
W?
capitalized
and-
W as Plymouth, but it's the western part of Plymouth.
We often refer to it as a region as if it's almost a kind of like village of Plymouth within it. but-
Actually,
It's not a proper
historically,
name,
West
is it?
Plymouth is a commercial section of the town.
Really?
I'm just, I'm just,
But it's not defined the
Well,
way that we're
at one
defining
time,
this.
the
Is it?
Mayhew Turnpike was the main avenue of access to the town.
no, yeah.
I don't consider it a separate village personally, but
Well, it was at one time.
We all set?
Yeah. And thank you, yeah. And I don't really want to like get sidetracked into this. I just saw the capital W, and I know we all know what I think West Plymouth is, but like,
Instead of Western Plymouth.
but we don't really
Yes.
often.
Small W Western Plymouth.
I don't know. Just raising the issue of whether we even recognize West Plymouth officially or unofficially as a region, even though I know we all know what it is and refer to West Plymouth at times.
Is that procedurally important?
I'm not sure if
For
it
our
is.
language use?
It's just in the handout, I will say.
Yeah,
not
okay.
In the text of the amendment. Yeah, it's a good point, though. I mean, Plymouth does not have neighborhoods that have names, per se. It's all informal names for areas of town, unless we're talking about the Water and Sewer District, which is a village district. But Fairgrounds area, West Plymouth, I mean, these are
Regions.
Yeah.
they're regions of the
Working
town
county.
that
But they're-
are
Lower
not
interval, that's right.
legally defined at this time.
I think the area we are discussing is adequately described in the first bullet point, regardless of the name.
Fair enough. Okay.
Are we all set?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sorry, did I sidetrack us?
Oh, that's fine. You had a question, so that's
I
good.
had the same awareness.
All right, so we're going to open this meeting at 8:47. 7:47, I'm sorry. I say, man, it's getting late.
Nick Mason from High Street. I've made this point both to the planning board and to the select board before, but one thing you got to think about, and I'm not going to tell you that I've read every single word of this proposed change or anything like that, so I'm speaking broadly and generally about the town of Plymouth's identity. I don't need to tell you guys that Plymouth State's enrollment is continuing to decline. There's a lot of upheaval. There's a lot of change going on. There's far, far fewer undergraduate students at Plymouth State University than there were 10 or 15 years ago. Because of that, there is less discretionary spending going on, by Plymouth State students in terms of renting apartments, buying pizza, buying beer, buying sandwiches, any other things that Plymouth State students would spend their money on in the community. Because of the declining enrollment, one of the outcomes is also that fewer of our neighbors and friends are employed by the university than 10 or 15 years ago during the millennials go to college era. And then because of that, our identity and our the university is losing a little bit of status as the economic driver for the town. And I'm not going to tell you that Tenny Mountain is going to magically solve all of our problems, but I am going to tell you that we need to diversify the industries that we have in this town, and that the ski industry exists in our region already. This town is full of people who are skiers and snowboarders, so it serves the local population as well as tourism population. We have 100 years of ski history in this town, starting with the ski trains. Tenny Mountain has been limping along for much of the last 60 some odd years. They've had 6 or 7 ownership changes. But there's simultaneous with the sort of decline of the university status as the economic driver, what you have is a real yearning from the ski population for something a little bit more real, a little bit more old-fashioned. There's a sort of an appreciation for skiing as maybe it was. Some of these people who yearned for it were not alive when skiing was like this, but I think if all you have to do is go to Loon Mountain on the average Saturday in February, and you would probably come away with an appreciation for Tenny Mountain and the vibe that it has. This development, obviously in any real estate change, there are going to be, and there's not really any losers, but there are certainly going to be people who are winners from this. But the big picture is this will create some jobs. This will create some economic development for ancillary businesses to arise to serve the community. And the jobs that are created will be a full spectrum. There will be jobs for high school kids. There will be jobs for high school graduates, college students, et cetera, all across the board. So I'm not going to get into the nuts and bolts and details of the plan, but I would highly encourage the board to create the conditions that would allow Tenny Mountain Resort to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Hey everybody, first of all, my name is Brian McKeon. I'm Stephen Kelly's Chief of Staff. Stephen is the owner of Tenny Mountain. We have Tom Hand on virtually as well. Tom works for Siteform Studio, which is one of our master planning partners. First and foremost, wanted to thank Joseph and the board, everyone that has kind of collaborated with us during this process. I really feel like this TMOD process in general has really been a shining example of that public-private dynamic, how it really should work. I think it's really been a great example of that dynamic. There's been substantial collaboration among us, a lot of conversation, discussion, some late nights at some meetings that we've had. So I really think that we feel great about that process and how it's played out. We were disappointed, obviously, when about a year ago, I think it was in January, it didn't move forward to town meeting in March of '25. But again, totally understood why. I mean, this is a very substantial, thorough process, proposal, a lot of pieces that no matter what decide, it really relies on that kind of thorough review. So we totally understood why we needed that extra year of kind of review and discussion to be added on. Obviously that said, our hope is obviously that for the March 2026 town meeting, this would obviously be, up to the voters to vote on and to decide. Stephen submitted a letter to the board, I think it was a couple weeks ago, where we basically said, we feel like this is in great shape as a document. I think a lot of our feedback, a lot of our great collaboration and discussion with the board has been vetted and discussed at length, and we feel really good about where the proposal is at this point. The only thing that we would kind of just raise at this point in the process is both industry and warehouse did see a reduction from 200,000 square feet to 150,000 square feet. And obviously one of the intents, as the gentleman just described, for redevelopment of the area is to attract those high quality jobs, and it's with a specific kind of viewpoint on the science and tech tenants that has come up in this meeting previously. And obviously with R&D and manufacturing, there's just going to have to be some kind of flexibility in the square footage, and we really won't know obviously until something comes forth that's more specific. But having that additional flexibility obviously was appealing when it was previously up to 200,000. But other than that, we truly appreciate the collaboration in this process that's played out over the past year and a half. We feel strongly that over the next 5 to 10 years, everything that we've talked about in this setting, high-paying jobs, commerce, business, the revival of the beloved ski area. People that have that true, that passion, they have Tenny in their blood, passes down from generations. They just, you can see they light up when they talk about Tenny Mountain. We obviously have the revival at the forefront, but also, so much more over the next 5 to 10 years that having this framework in place will really help, as we kind of lay out those next few years. So again, appreciate everything that the board has done. Joseph, appreciate everything that you've done. And we really hope to see this on the ballot in March.
Thank you.
I appreciate having your input on this as well.
Thanks.
Anybody online have anything, or anybody in the audience? Any more comments?
Oh, there's a hand.
All right.
Is it, okay, there we go.
Joanne, you should be able to speak.
Joanne, welcome.
Oh, she's still muted.
Oh, we
She's
cannot hear
muted.
her.
Just 1 second, we can't really hear you.
Is that our volume, maybe?
Huh.
No,
Oh.
she's not muted.
Do we have to choose
She's
a different
okay.
speaker?
Oh, yeah, on Zoom.
On Zoom, yeah.
There's, he's, I think Joseph has him.
Oh, okay. So. Not the mic, the speaker.
Is this the correct one?
I don't know if the speakers are changed before, so I'm not sure which one it is.
How about this one? Any luck?
Joanne, will you say something?
Can you? No.
Hello?
Let's try.
Nope, not yet.
Try the top.
Do try.
Top one.
Oh,
Oh, there you are. Oh, no, you're gone again.
We lost you. We had it.
what happened?
Go back.
So I think she's
She's
muted.
muted.
She's muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you for your
Yeah, we got it.
Thank you. Again, my name is Joanna, and I'm on Route 3A. I was interested to see the extent of this overlay district proposal. And I have actually three basic questions, and I want to know, do you want to hear them all now and address them, or one at a time? I'd rather do that.
Why don't you do one at a time and we'll answer them as you go.
Okay, so my first question is, what protection to abutters will be in place with this proposed change in zoning? I'm thinking about noise from snow guns, noise from possible snowmobile trails, lighting, and aquifer, where will this water come from for snowmaking? That's my first question. And also space. I mean, there are on the west side of 3A there a number of private homes, and how close would it come to the homes? Is there some kind of rule about the space between private property and the new recreational activities?
There are buffers for the development. I think Molly's looking up what they are at the moment. Or Joseph?
So, I mean, in general, it's the overlay doesn't, it allows some uses that are not allowed in the underlying ag zone, but it still starts with all of the regular processes that we would rely on. So, you know, if somebody's proposing a planned unit development, that would certainly have a larger impact and would go through its own hearing, and abutters would have the ability to be to comment during that hearing.
Okay.
But
Then the exterior setback, in particular for a planned unit development, is listed as 80 feet from any exterior PUD tract boundary that abuts residential uses, except where transportation or use connections are desired. Landscaping and other types of screenings shall be designed to provide a reasonable buffer between the PUD and adjoining property, except where compatible uses adjoin one another.
What
is
section?
the buffer section. That is F5.
Thank you.
F5?
Yep.
F5 deals with setbacks.
Yeah, so all roads and structures shall be set back a minimum of 80 feet from all exterior PUD tract boundaries that abut residential uses except where transportation or use connections are desired.
And I think snow guns, you might be able to answer that. Will there be, the snow guns, would they be the same? Will there be the noise from?
I mean, I guess I would say, I mean, it's you know, obviously, we totally understand the concern, and, you know, kind of the point there is, we really can't speak to kind of the inner workings of kind of the operation or what the future would hold there on that front, but anything, you know, any kind of either a noise violation or any kind of, like, that would typically go through a process, and obviously we'd be completely compliant with everything that's in effect as it is currently as it relates to noise or what we're allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do.
And also worth clarifying that this PUD ordinance wouldn't apply just to Stephen Kelly and the whole Tenny Mountain crew.
Right.
It would apply to any development in that area that wants to use the overlay.
Yeah. I appreciate very much that there's a representative of Tenny Mountain here that might speak to their interest, but, you know, this is really a bigger picture change that, you know, it could be almost any industry who's not represented here tonight.
And in terms of,
I'm just, you know, that's the big one that I see as in the works for developing. I know there could be others. So.
Yeah, and it's the only one we really have a firm kind of grasp on at this point, but it,
Yeah.
you know, it could be other developers and in the future.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think she also had a question about the aquifer. Can anyone address that?
I think there's a delicate balance when that question comes up, because any sort of development that's proposed will still have to go through site plan review, which means that it will still be required to prove that they're managing stormwater on site.
Right.
And that they have sufficient water to run.
And that
their
they have
facilities.
sufficient water to run their facilities. In terms of the larger scale question of do they have the water, we don't necessarily have control over that.
No, I think that was more of it because of the snowmaking.
That's not, yeah.
And that can be addressed development by development, as we always do on the planning board.
Correct.
Okay, step by step.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, my next question, anticipating down the line that this area is developed, has there been communication with the state and the town regarding 3A and any other traffic that would inevitably be there?
That would also be the result of site plan. There could be traffic studies as a result of any, part of any site plan review. And if there are improvements required to transportation infrastructure, they can be required as part of the site plan.
And I will mention that coming up at our next Lakes Region Planning Commissioner meeting next week, we are going to get a presentation on exactions and impact fees, but I think mostly exactions, but like also a little bit of a kind of discussion of both in that context. And that could apply to things like this, like, you know, off-site impacts that might, you know, be a part of it if there is like something off-site that needs to be upgraded and how exactly that would play out. And again, it's hard to really have a crystal ball and know exactly how it's going to play out in the future. But certainly that is something that would be considered. If you all remember the hotel like that came through, we talked about like the impact on traffic and if it is sufficiently handled or not. And whenever there is a large impact like that, it is considered and how that can be handled and upgraded if necessary and so forth.
Okay, thank you. And the third one, I was a little concerned to see the possibility of buildings as high as 8 feet. I mean, and then this, any development would require the support of fire and police. Would we, you know, and I mean, I'm sure that's been anticipated as a possibility, something that would have to be addressed in the future. So, you know, I just wonder how that's, how you're thinking about that as far as, yes, this whole project could bring revenue, will bring, you know, revenue as far as taxes goes, but there will be a cost for support for fire and police, and that needs to be considered too.
So you're less concerned with like 80 feet from an aesthetic point of view or something, and more from a like life safety and expensive emergency services. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And this is one of the places where we always do, especially in a large project, get department review.
Yes.
And fire and police would definitely be part of department review of the project. And I think that might fall in the kind of similar category to traffic studies, where if there is some kind of large impact, there might be some discussion that needs to happen. And again, it's hard to know exactly what that looks like ahead of time, but I don't know if anybody else has any more insight.
The only thing I'd like to say is, you know, if you're picking out that, you know, increase of building height to allow for 80 feet buildings, that's only allowed within the village core, and that's only allowed in PUDs of 250 acres or more. It's not anywhere.
And we do have ladder trucks.
And You know, the thinking is that there's potentially enough infrastructure to be developed that the need for housing for people to, you know, if there's going to be enough commercial development to support, you know, food, lodging, you know, it'd be nice if there would be apartments or housing locally for people who work in the area. You know, it's almost like creating a different little village core. You know, we're trying to provide flexibility to potentially, you know, look at a separate little village core in that area to support the ski area.
West Plymouth.
If you want to call it that, sure. But you know, that's kind of the goal of allowing that village core in those 250 acre or larger PUDs.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great questions.
Nick Mason again. I was just going to suggest maybe if this goes to a second meeting, that on your map, you could provide the info of which parcels are 250 acres or more.
So
Or are you not
there
on?
are a couple, but the bigger issue is that it's, and anyone can, you can, you know,
Sure,
you can merge,
sure.
you can purchase and merge
Right.
any number of parcels. It's really,
Right.
You don't even have to merge, as long as you
Sure.
include them all within
As long
your-
as you own
yeah.
them, you own them.
Yeah.
I don't,
Currently.
I think it would be inappropriate to stake out current ownership. But, you know, I think, you know, this is something that's going to go well into the future, and I think that any potential buyer would be eligible, you know, any potential investor that wanted to purchase real estate in that area could take advantage of this.
Sure. I just think it might allay some concerns of folks like that so that they can see what the potential development
Yeah, I
risks are.
I
adjacent.
would say for anyone who has questions about that, the town tax maps are online, and there's a lot of great information available there. You can click on any existing parcel, it'll tell you the owner, the acreage. You know, if you search, if you find one particular parcel owner, you can actually search that owner's name, and all the parcels that person owns will be highlighted, and you can kind of identify. Yeah, you know, it's not that, you can get there pretty easily.
Unless they use an LLC or something. Yeah.
I feel like it would be a good moment also to remind everyone that the minimum area required to even propose a planned unit development is 100 acres.
Yes. And with the village core, it's 250.
And
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
We do have Tom Hand with that, has raised his hand.
Okay. Mr. Hand?
Everyone, good evening, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so Ryan spoke earlier, and I've been working with Ryan and Steve and many others on the team for a while. I've been there in the room with you all. You know, I just want to reiterate what Ryan said. You know, I think we have done a good review of the draft regs, and I believe we worked through some further clarifications with Joseph this week. So we are, very much in support. I think his discussion of the 150 versus 200,000 square feet for the warehouse and the industry, that really is a request if you would entertain going back up to the 200,000 square feet. I think we're pretty open about what sort of form the building will take. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a single-story, very expansive building. But Stephen is the one who really has kind of a good grasp around what potential tenants and users would go in. And I think he's ultimately looking for the most flexibility there from potential users for those buildings and those structures. And then just to kind of reply to Ms. Magnus' comments, we are working with a local civil engineer, so a lot of questions around stormwater and water and water supply as well as traffic, that is all certainly going to be considered as at least the 10 Mountain project moves forward. But then as the board is clarified, this is an overlay district for the entire region that is being proposed. We're just simply one potential user within that group. So if there's any other questions, I'm happy to try to provide further clarity.
So can I actually ask a follow-up then? And I'm speaking just for myself, of course. The rest of the board can tell me I'm crazy asking this, but so let's say we went back up to 200,000. Would you be okay with 200,000 overall square feet plus a lower number for a footprint?
That could certainly be a strategy to think about, yeah, and that would, help you achieve a limited footprint, but still that overall gross square footage. It could be something that's entertaining, that I don't want to run that by season, but I'd be amenable to it.
It's interesting.
I mean, I think we were thinking of like a 200,000 square foot building, as they often are, like a single story. That's a large building.
Yep.
And even 150 is a large building, which we're not really used to in Plymouth. And so considering different forms that could take, like a limitation on the footprint could be a kind of interesting compromise maybe or something, I'm not sure.
Well, I think the other question too that I had, or we had as a team was, if the TMLD regulations say 150 is the max allowed square footage, is there some sort of a special exception path? If we do come across a tenant that says, I want 175 or 200, that in that special circumstance, we could still come back to the board.
Without a variance, like with a special exception or something.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think anything's allowed under variance.
Let's do it with that one.
You can get it.
Right? Seriously, that's what variances are for.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Clarification, like, all right, maybe it's not written into the regulations, but if there's another path, if and when that were to come up, then that could be another option we have.
We did some legwork and found some examples of buildings of various sizes, and I think 200,000 square feet was fairly large. I think there's a distribution center off Route 3A in Bow, which is about that size, and for a single story structure, it's certainly more than this board had envisioned for that area.
Right.
Well, the other thing I'm certainly cognizant of is the drain that's out there.
Right.
There's quite a bit of grading that have to happen to get a building as large as that. So I think from that standpoint, starting to look at multiple stories in these proportions is a strategy to have. But again, having that flexibility, that really nice high flexible number that we used to even initially, he was the one that came up with that 200,000 initially.
Judy did.
The only thing I'd add too, and just kind of on Tom's second point is, now and like we've said before, we don't know what the future is going to hold. We don't know if a tenant's going to come around in 2 to 3 years and request 225 or whatever. So I think to Tom's second point, as long as there's a path, and there's always a path, whatever is or isn't written in, I think we're amenable to. Is just knowing that there is a pathway that we can work with.
Interesting.
I mean, so I guess as alternatives, if we do want to be flexible on this board, we could say, up to such and such by right, up to such and such by special exception, or we could do like the footprint thing and say like this many square feet, but this is the maximum footprint.
I would just remember too that this is not for Tenny Mountain specifically, that it's for everyone. So even though this one specific person is requesting that, we can't make a zoning ordinance for one specific person. So that's my comments on that.
That's true. Yeah. But it is, I totally agree, and I'm trying to make the same point earlier, and it is really important to remember that. And at the same time, I think it's a concern, and I could imagine others having similar concerns, and I could also imagine the people in Plymouth having concerns about a 200,000 square foot single story especially facility, and that would be hard to cite on a single story. But I also know developers can be really creative sometimes.
We could simply, so in the business uses, we could, we wouldn't want to change warehouse, I don't think, because those are almost always single floor, but under industry, we could change the language to say from not more than 150,000 square feet of gross floor area to 150,000 square feet of ground floor area.
I'm gonna say even for, a warehouse, if you look at a lot of like old barns, where you enter on one side and another side at different levels. I mean, it's doable. It's not common.
I have a quick question. We're talking about the overlay specifically right now, but if you choose not to use the overlay over in A1 and A2, which is zoned for agricultural, it does cover industrial. Is there a limitation that you can't just default to the original?
You can use the underlying zoning.
But not if it's
But
part
not
of
if it's
your.
part of it.
But you
PUD.
can only use one or the other.
If you carve it out from your PUD as not part of your PUD,
Underlying zoning, you could
then you can just use the underlying zoning.
Mm-hmm.
So if they had if somebody had 50 acres over there that wasn't part of it, they could do it.
Well, a warehouse in ag is a special exception use.
It is? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure.
But A1 and A2, I don't think so. It's zoned as industrial as well. Pretty sure.
And then to completely change the subject off warehouses, I have a concern with the boarding kennel for noise ordinance for dogs barking. So that's just something to consider, because there's lots of complaints about in residential neighborhoods if you have a dog barking. So if you have a boarding kennel, obviously you have no control over if the dogs bark. So I personally would like to see that removed and not a use in this for the purposes of
So
noise.
just because these are allowed, it says a PUD may contain these, it doesn't mean further regulation isn't allowed. So if there's a site plan for a kennel, there could be noise restrictions on the site plan. So this is bigger picture than site plan.
And in fact, we could even say, like, in your master plan, this has to be greater than 80 feet. We do have some flexibility on the planning board side in negotiating the master plan.
I don't disagree that noise is a concern for kennels. It's, but it's also a big area that could incorporate those into a good design.
Is warehouse not defined or something?
It is in the table of uses, but does not have a definition. So in the table of uses, it's a use that is permitted in ICD, and it's permitted by special exception in ag, VC, and highway commercial.
Yeah. So it is special exception.
I had neighbors
in
who
ag.
had a sled dog farm.
I would like to.
Is there a public?
So we're still.
Oh yeah, sorry.
We're still.
Are there any other further comments before we start deliberating over?
That's what I was just going to ask.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any more comments online? Okay, then we will close the hearing at 8:20.
Wow,
Thank you very much for all your comments. They're helpful.
they are very helpful.
So now,
And I'll just make a note that the board asked for a reminder that there was some question about whether the board liked the way that bed and breakfast was defined in here. And there's a proposed change to the definition of bed and breakfast in the zoning ordinance. So that's one that might be worth just having some conversations about, because this does propose changing the use bed and breakfast and permitting it in a PUD. Right now, bed and breakfast is defined in the zoning ordinance, but is not enumerated in the table of uses.
Can we just pull out bed and breakfast and put of course, none of these are passed, so if one passes and the other doesn't, then they don't exist. I was gonna say our other actually, we can still use those definitions in our PUD, and if
Yes.
both all happen, then they're in both places, but at least they can be in this place.
What's the other definition you were proposing to use? I'm trying to remember.
The ones we were talking about, and Joseph started to write up for our short-term rentals.
Yeah.
Including owner-occupied and
yeah.
owner-occupied. And an owner-occupied short-term rental is
It's
kind of like a
kinda
bed and
being
breakfast, they
viewed.
may or may not serve you breakfast.
Right. I mean, we also don't have a definition of warehouse in our zoning ordinance. And yet it's a use on the table. It's also a use in this, and we don't have a definition added in here.
So generally, in those cases, we would either defer to a dictionary definition or common usage.
Okay.
That's usually what we would do. It's obviously very helpful to have a definition in the zoning ordinance, but we do have kind of a, just default to
Okay.
what is the common usage of that term.
I'm fine with this,
You're-
the standard dictionary definition
I
there.
think that's reasonable.
Okay,
Unless we want something different than what's in the
totally fine.
Where that can be helpful is if you want to define it to exclude something
Yeah.
that may be customarily associated with it, because obviously how you define something also dictates the parameters of what it can be. So if there's
Right.
something you specifically want to include or exclude, that can be, there's a lot of, the definitions have a lot of regulating built in, but you don't.
And there's no real danger of it being confused, which we do have a definition of a storage facility. And I think we can distinguish them.
Yeah, okay. One of the other things I want to, since it's my soapbox, remind everybody of is under letter H, number 2, the specific objectives. Every PUD in the Tenny Mountain Overlay District shall incorporate several of the following elements, and it includes things like a quality architectural design, placement of structures on most suitable sites with consideration of topography, soils, vegetation, slope, etc. And this is one of the reasons that I feel comfortable having warehouse as a use at all in the district, is because of these other requirements that are strongly suggested in the PUD.
And by strongly suggested, there's a shall, which means definitely, but only several. Not all.
Yes. Correct. So the question of increasing the footprint of the warehouse,
Limiting the
we're limiting the footprint, increasing the square footage.
Yeah. Having like two separate numbers as
Well,
maximums.
there's warehouse, but there's also industrial use. I would say I'm okay leaving warehouse as it is, but maybe
In the dictionary
changing the industry. Pardon?
Yep.
Yeah, we're under E2. E2Q is warehouse not to exceed 150,000 square feet in gross floor area, and E2I is industry, provided the use is conducted completely within a building not more than 150,000 square feet in gross floor area. I would,
So what did you say Walmart was? Well, the size of Walmart was,
wasn't it at 150?
that was at what,
It's-
150, right?
Yeah, it's right about that. It might be a few square feet larger.
I think it was ballpark 150,
Yeah,
but like
that's right.
that
I think
distribution
that's what we
center on
used.
3A was like
Yeah.
250.
That's what we used
Do we consider Walmart a warehouse? Because we
It could
keep
easily
It
be a
could be
warehouse,
converted
but
to
it's,
warehouse.
that's, I mean.
Well, we're just making an assumption that the 200 square foot they're asking
But
for is
it
a
could-
warehouse. It
it-
might
it
be.
could also be
Research
industry.
and development, indoor skiing, and give many other uses other than a warehouse. They might need to have that 200, 250 for something else.
Well,
That's all.
They might have an indoor ski area so that people can ski in the summer. They might need more space than that. They have them in Europe.
They have it in New York.
So Walmart right now is most likely classified, in fact, we saw it recently, is classified as retail
Yeah.
use at this time, but obviously the
definitely
building form could be similar to a form you see with the warehouse, certainly.
I'd be comfortable going over 150 with a limitation on the footprint.
So what would be an appropriate footprint? Like
100?
with a,
No, we've got a Walmart of that size, and if properly cited, it doesn't seem like a terrible thing.
So you keep the footprint 150, but up the square footage to 200.
Potentially.
Why can't you do the special exception over the 150?
Or we can do that.
We could do that.
You'd be able to,
I mean, we're streamlining things a little bit by allowing it by right rather than sending it over to the ZBA.
Yeah,
no,
And
that's,
it keeps it all in our hands.
yeah.
well,
But
As a kind of backing out for a moment question, we have these square foot limitations, but Michael is making me realize that we don't have square foot limitations on something like retail, right? So why?
I guess if you're working within the PUD,
I'm tired.
For commercial service.
we have a particular vision for what a PUD is.
Uh-huh.
And
So industry and warehouse in particular are two uses that lend themselves to larger footprints, and so that's why we're limiting them.
Honestly, I think that the list of uses is so general that to have square foot limitations on a few only invites someone to say, to reclassify their business into
exactly,
something
they're
that's
gonna
not
figure out a way around it.
in size, honestly. Yeah, my indoor ski area is now fitness and is unlimited in size, and it's going to be 500,000 square feet.
So what was the original concern of the 200? Was it,
Well, we were thinking about warehouses generally, and we were thinking about what is acceptable on the site to the board as representatives of the town, and so we did all that. Joseph and Avery collected all of those, right? And so we were trying to get a sense of scale and what scale we felt would be best to allow.
And another part is, I believe, is that we're envisioning this primarily with our goal as a recreational zone. But
Right.
to make that possible, and raise capital and all that,
Right.
we're allowing these other uses which are not really recreational. And we don't want to really encourage necessarily those other uses to start to become like the primary uses of this PUD.
Instead of
Or at least the most visible uses of this PUD. And by having some limitations on overall size,
it forces the uses to be more diversified.
at least in its kind of visual impact of what we imagine to be more of a recreational zone.
instead of an industrial park?
Yeah.
And I do remember that, and I'm bringing this up because I want other people to hear where we're coming from, because there weren't many people here listening to this
Fair enough.
conversation. So I think it's important that people understand why we reduced it to 150.
Yeah.
Right. So,
And so within a well-planned PUD, even if you do something different outside, maybe within this well-planned PUD, we do have some restrictions because we are imagining it for recreational uses with kind of auxiliary, industrial or whatever uses, research, etc., that might help make the whole thing feasible.
okay.
And you can always carve off some and use the underlying zoning. If you really want a big facility. We didn't want to do that for housing because it would start to potentially leading to all kinds of carving going on. But for this kind of use, I could imagine someone that's carving it off because it could be more concentrated and you can still use the underlying zoning. I mean, if you really wanted to. It doesn't really answer our questions, but it gives some context.
Mike, do you have any comments?
No.
Okay.
You got some thoughts in your head, I think.
Oh, that look.
All right, so do we want to make any changes to this, or do we want to go to a second hearing with the way it is? Would anybody like to?
I don't think it's bad leaving.
I think it sounds all right.
I think we deliberated about the sizes previously and agreed on 150,000 square feet for both warehouse space and for industry. So the caveat with industry, I want to remind people, is that industry is acceptable in the PUD zone, PUD, provided the use is conducted completely within a building of not more than 150,000 square feet of gross floor area. So we didn't want open production outdoor stuff.
And that also prevents industry being like,
the dominant only thing happening.
no, but we also were talking about that included in the industry as a use is also like excavation sort of industry, which by saying it's
Earth
enclosed,
processing.
then you're saying you're not really doing that unless you're building a giant building over it, which you're probably not going to do.
Yeah.
So would anybody like to, do we want to just move this to another hearing and do that on January 15th as well, as is, or would you?
Do we want to revisit the bed and breakfast question briefly?
But I almost, we don't really have a definition to include yet. I would like the bed and breakfast to be, like, we don't define bed and breakfast, right?
We do. We have a definition
but
in our
we
zoning
do.
ordinance.
Yeah, this proposes to change it, and there is some
It's different than this definition.
Right. And this proposes changing the definition for the entire ordinance. There is some very conceptual early stage information in response to the discussion of some of these short-term rental uses in the packet. Obviously, it is starting point. The board hasn't really deliberated on it yet, but there is some information there that you're welcome to look at.
Well, here's a question. If we do we need different types of short-term accommodations in the overlay that we're going to have in the town as a whole? So whatever we decide we want in the town, do we really need separate different ones for the overlay? I mean, if we're okay with a bed and breakfast, whatever we end up calling it, which we probably will allow in some way, whether we change the definitions or not, which we're talking about, we're going to allow some kind of short-term accommodations. And I don't know that we're going to allow different types of short-term accommodations here necessarily than, except for
Then in the rest of the town.
I mean, it's the incremental ownership or whatever. But otherwise, like, I don't know that we really need to do anything different than the rest of the town for the types allowed. The volume and all that kind of stuff, yes, but not the types necessarily.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree with that. But does that mean that so this is proposing changing the bed and breakfast definition in the zoning ordinance?
How
As
about,
currently written.
How about,
Okay.
can we just change bed and breakfast to hospitality? Is that sufficiently broad?
It's pretty broad.
Is it too broad?
Yeah, because hospitality is also
Yes, a
food.
hotel and.
Yeah.
And we do have
but I think-
hotel listed
Restaurant.
in the list today.
I mean, can we just like say the short-term accommodations, like better language than that of our zoning ordinance are allowed? I guess that we'd have to define what those are in the zoning ordinance. Actually, are they implicitly defined actually? So we have residential uses and then we have hotels and other forms of transient uses. And if we allow any of the transient uses, I think that is a word that would be a catch-all that could work.
It is a little challenging because there is no use category for those. They're
Yeah,
generally
okay.
a commercial use. But I mean, transient accommodations is a challenging thing to define sometimes as a separate entity from uses, though a lot of the uses that we're talking about are for transient occupancy, and that's often in the definition. But it's not, the hotel definition, for example, doesn't actually use the word transient, which makes it a little harder to differentiate them as transient per se.
I guess I'll just say this. If we decide to kick off or kick down the pike this question until our next hearing, that will mean we will have a third hearing on this.
Right.
Because we will not have it figured out.
That's what I mean. Yeah. That's why.
So, and if we're okay having a third hearing, then whatever.
And it would not be possible, most likely, well, you'll have to keep in mind if you schedule a hearing for January.
Because the last hearing has to be in January. Before
Well,
like,
if
before like February
Yeah.
5th or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So January.
Trying to get rid of that definition because it's not contemporary and it's very specific. We
The
talked
last
about that
day,
last time. You might-
no, February 2nd. Is the last day.
Yeah, so it puts us on too short of a timeline
Oh,
to kick
maybe.
off that decision to January 15th.
If you did a hearing on the 15th
Fire.
of January,
I started
you
at
would not be able
5:30
to hold another hearing at the
this
subsequent
morning.
meeting
Yes.
on the 22nd. No, that wouldn't be enough time for notice.
Madam Chair, can I suggest we pause for a second?
Sure.
We have a lot of students here. How long do you guys have to stay? Do you guys need signatures? Can we take a break to sign their papers so they can get out of
Sure.
here? You guys are only supposed to stay here for like an hour and a half, right? Oh,
Wow.
bring your
did
papers up.
good.
We'll sign them and get you
Longer
guys
if
out
you
of here.
want.
No, force them to stay longer, Phil. Force them to stay.
Neil, you wanna make a motion to give them an A if they stay longer?
Does it have to be the chair, or can it be any member?
Can be anybody. Hey there.
Yeah, this is, John got his signature in the beginning, and then he left.
Well, you're more educated now.
We're signing with the signatures, that's what you did.
What's my title?
Your
Board member?
Planning
Here
board
you
member.
go. You're welcome, thank
Title
you.
of board member.
I put board member, but you
Master
can put that
Molly
there if you want.
McCann.
Sorry to keep you guys longer.
Aaron
Alex,
McCann.
Outrank
Allison?
Ace, Sir Michael.
Yeah.
Sure, I can do that. Tuesday, what time and where?
You're welcome.
Anybody else
They
need a
just put
signature?
board member under it. if you want.
3:30?
Fine. What do you need now?
Sure. Sure, no problem. And what's your
Your
name?
interview? Okay.
Okay, I'll see you at
Good.
3:30 at Cafe Monte Alto.
You need a signature?
Yeah, you can do that, John.
He's
You
good.
want to
Sure.
Hi, John.
Just put.
Molly.
Right, yeah, but.
I'm in Master Corral.
That's right.
I bet I do.
There you go. What's that? A chair?
This is the planning board.
Here.
This is our vice chair, but she's running the meeting. And I'm just on the board.
No.
We have no mayor in
We
this
have no mayor. We
town.
have a town manager, but he's not a town attending either.
No.
No?
We have a
Say
select
that to your mom
board.
for me.
That's, yeah.
We are a town. It's not a township because townships are only west of the
Yeah, so
Appalachians.
the next
Email?
We're New Jersey.
time.
Okay, whatever.
Townships?
We can talk about it later.
For the next, for the fairgrounds. I think
Oh.
it's,
On the
I'll
agenda.
email it to you. I'll find out tomorrow and I'll email
It's
it.
Puffin Industries, all lowercase, @gmail.com.
CIP committee.
You're welcome.
Oh.
She's here in person.
What's that? I know, is she doing good? Crazy?
Better go
All right, well, I
knock
just
on her
wanted you to
door.
know, I think it's December 4th, maybe?
Oh.
I think it's Peter, but I'm not sure who his wife is.
I use
It'd
basketball.
be Christopher or Brandon.
Pull their tax card. Their mailing
Yeah.
address is on their tax card. I suggested that. I think you guys should. Cut all the trees.
Google Plymouth tax maps.
I would like it.
Well, we are derailed, y'all.
We are. I was just
Okay, we're
Sorry,
back,
guys.
we're back in
I
session
felt bad
here.
keeping all
Wait,
the
what
high
the hell
school
happened?
kids.
We lost people.
That's okay.
We had kids
point.
hostage here.
Can I ask you a quick question, or is it closed too? It's more.
Are we still? We're still in hearing, right?
No, we're not.
No, we
No, we're not
closed it,
hearing.
but go ahead.
I can ask. Okay.
Sure.
Where did our microphone go? Oh.
Where did that Brad go? Students took him away.
So again, this is kind of more so, and obviously, you know, the disclaimer, obviously, to Tenny Mountain and Stephen Kelly and the ownership group there is that's one piece of the puzzle, right? But, you know, and I do want to reiterate any conversation that was brought up about, you know, 150,000 to 200,000, very much so in the nice to have, just wanted to kind of throw it out there, right? More so the reason why it was brought up was just to make sure that there, and again, like we don't know what the future holds, making sure there is a process down the line. I say all that, and obviously there's other things that you guys are considering. It does get concerning though, because there is so many, the way that you guys have to operate, there's gaps obviously between meetings. You can only, and the clock is ticking. So kind of to your point there, you know, any kind of changes does run the risk where it could potentially not even get on the ballot for March of 2026. It would be a whole nother year that we'd miss out on. So just saying that, I know it's stating the obvious, but I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. We feel very strongly that, everything that we've collaborated on with you guys has been great, and we're happy with everything we've seen.
Thank you. I have a suggestion.
Okay.
I'm going to suggest maybe that we actually schedule another hearing for December on this and get some guidance from Joseph about how to work out some of these issues perhaps before then. I mean, it seems like we kind of know where we want to go, but we don't know exactly how to get there. I mean, not exactly with the square footage issue, which it sounds like a few people have said to leave it where it is. I'd be open to changing it, but
I'd be open to changing it
but
with more understanding.
But with the transient uses, I wonder if we could have some more guidance.
So there is a set of pages in the back of the packet that address in a conceptual form some of the comments raised by the board at last meeting about these definitions, and there are conceptual definitions.
And they look pretty good on glance.
If
Yeah.
the board wanted to discuss that as a starting point, the board certainly can discuss that. I mean, again, this is...
I guess the issue is whatever language we adopt in this has to basically hold whether or not the another zoning ordinance on short-term rentals passes.
Right. Yep.
And I guess that's what I was trying to kind of thread the needle on by saying this transient uses or something, because then either way, if it passes or doesn't, it would still work.
Yeah, I mean, there are possibilities. You could try something like you could try to be descriptive instead of precise in how you talk about it, and you could say something like any transient occupancy use permitted in the underlying zoning district. You could
Such as, but not limited to.
Well, if you do a such as, you'd have to have something to say, such as.
Yeah.
This
You're gonna
one.
limit it.
Like hotels and...
Bed and breakfast.
Oh, but bed and breakfast we might remove.
So if you wanted to
Unless we
say-
just want to keep bed and breakfast in there with our current definition.
You could say something like at the planning board's discretion.
Oh, yeah.
Because a PUD by definition does have these uses
lot of
are
discretion.
flexible in some ways, and some of that is by definition or by design for these uses to be not always quite so precise as they might be in other places. So
personally, I like where you're going with this, and I wonder if you can make some language for us and maybe have another hearing in December rather than January, so we can make any changes and not run out of time.
And then have a second one in January.
And then
a
we have the
in
third
January.
one in
And
January.
and what I'm proposing here is non-substantive, well, I mean substantive changes, but like really kind of tweaking wording to get it right and without running out of time. And it would be good to figure out where we want to go with the, I mean, we'd still have time to fix it if we wanted to in December, but like.
So what are the meeting dates in December? What do we have?
So the work session in December is the 4th, and then the business meeting in December is the 18th.
It would have to be the 18th.
Be the 18th. So 12, 18.
And so we'd have some language on this kind of transient use issue. And do we want to make any decisions tonight about the square footage? I know you said leave it. I'm open to potentially changing it.
I'm leaning towards leaving it, only because we still have the 35-foot height restriction in place. If they're going to seek a variance for that, they can seek a variance for the square footage as well. Like, unless they're in the village core, which is somewhat limited, and it's. I don't feel like I have a hard time. If we were to limit it to a footprint and a square footage, I would almost want to bring the footprint down a little. Like, I don't think we should say 150,000 ground floor square feet and total square feet of 450,000, something like that.
No, I wasn't going to say 450,000.
I'm just throwing something out there, like 3 floors,
Yeah.
because that's basically what you could get under 35 foot height.
How about like 150, 225? A little bit of extra flexibility on one
I guess
end
the
and
question-
less on the other.
Or do we just take all the square foot limitations out?
I think,
I think that the topography and the cost is going to be its own limitation.
in principle, I agree with what you're saying, I think.
There's not enough flat land out there to build anything.
I think the town might get spooked by that number, or lack of number, but maybe not.
Well, I mean, they had to make a big pad to put Walmart in there, 150,000 square feet with parking lot. Like, that's expensive.
Yeah.
That's not just gonna happen, like, without.
And they'd have to do a site plan review.
We do have some leeway in the PUD process that's a little bit more flexible in providing guidance than we would normally have in a site plan review.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's almost a little bit like a special exception in some cases without actually being one and going to the zoning board and having that kind of broader flexibility to
I would just
consider
hate to see the next
character.
500,000 square foot distribution center for, the northern New Hampshire distribution center located in Plymouth with, 150 trucks a day running down Tenny Mountain Highway.
So you're saying like, yeah, whatever, yeah. So
you are in favor of keeping square foot minimum
I don't know.
or
I mean,
maximum?
I'm okay with limiting warehouses, but maybe giving more flexibility for industry. I mean, we could leave the language in industry that says provided the use is conducted completely within inside of building, period, and remove the square footage.
And industry in a sense is like a more productive use than like warehousing stuff.
True.
And often involves more employment than
More
warehousing.
added
That's also
value,
true.
one would presume, or it could be all robots by that time.
What I find interesting is we're kicking this can over and over and over, and the only person in the public that has said anything about the size, with all the input that we've received, are the people from Tenny Mountain.
Yes.
Right.
They're the only ones that have requested more. There's not anybody else that has said,
Right.
that's a problem.
Yeah.
And
That's not a
I'm
problem.
really trying to consider this personally, at least.
So that makes it
Are you
difficult to make a
suggesting
decision.
that we remove the limitation, or are you suggesting?
I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just saying I think it's interesting that nobody comments about the size of these buildings.
It makes it difficult for us to make a decision.
It does, and
It does.
so Walmart obviously doesn't bother people. I don't remember I don't remember all the rhetoric when it was going to be built, but
I just did a dumb search for 150,000 square foot office building, and like they're big. Like even if they're not one floor, like
They are big.
There's a lot of square footage. Like they're big, imposing structures. Like,
but I'm just not hearing the concern from the public. So maybe we're making a big deal out of it, and the public is.
That's our job. We're the planners.
It's also our job to put something out there and let them tell us, vote on it or not.
Joanne has her hand raised.
Oh, let's hear from Joanne. Oh, can we?
I think we should. I think you're the chair.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear from her.
Joanne, I would love to hear from you.
You can hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I could give you some information about what I think about that kind of a huge. My question is, when one gentleman, I don't remember names, says something about distribution center and trucks going up and down Tenny Mountain Highway, what's going to be produced there?
So when I talk about a distribution center, I'm talking about like retail, like Amazon distribution. They're already all over the like. Go pull off Route 28 like at noon and just watch the Amazon trucks roll through there, like dozens an hour. Like it's amazing that the traffic volume of Amazon branded trucks rolling in and out of a distribution center. And I would hate. My goal is I would not want to encourage that in this type of development.
I would not. I would not either.
Especially when I live on 3A and I see how busy it is now. At this point. So I'll just, I am one person in the public who sees a problem with that square footage. For the record.
Good, thank you.
With what square footage? With With
big
more,
square
with
footage.
more than 150 square feet, potentially?
Well, yeah, and now I could do some research to figure out what is 150,000 square feet myself.
It's about the size of the Walmart.
Walmart, yeah, I have a problem with that.
That was a good
One person from the public.
And I think putting it into perspective for people, but it's just getting
Right.
people to listen
That's what they
to
want.
it. You know, reach into them. Could I ask you a question? Do they have, is there something in mind that he's got that he would like to put in there that you could give us a little bit of information with that size, or is he just thinking down the road for the future? I mean, I guess I don't understand what could possibly want to be there.
No, sure. I mean, I guess the best way I could describe it is, and when we kind of kicked it around, especially when it got to the final stages, was it's not it's not that Amazon, Walmart type facility where you do kind of, when you hear the word warehouse, you envision this massive structure. It's an eyesore. I think when we were kicking around, it was more so about like the research and development, the science and tech, like that type of stuff that I think might have been brought up in a couple meetings. That
isn't a warehouse, though.
No, I know, and that's just
It's industry.
Yeah, that's right.
But also, you're one developer, and we have to write something that applies to everyone.
Sure, but I was just saying,
Right.
to answer your question, that's the focus. It's always been like the high-paying jobs, the science and tech focus, that kind of, not necessarily warehousing or any kind of mass structure that would be, putting, Amazon vehicles or anything crazy up there. To be honest, I mean, that's just.
And I appreciate that. I just kind of would like to get kind of his vision so that it would help myself and others just to try to.
And a lot of it too is like we've said, it's the unknown. It's if in 3, 5, 7 years, again, and you answered the question. It's if somebody does come along and they want to build a facility, and if it goes more into industry and research and development, science and tech, that's 215, 225. It's just knowing that there is that process.
Right. It's available.
Thank
Thank you.
The other thing that's happening these days is people are building server farms, just to support AI. And somebody might look at the proximity of wind towers and say, let's put a server farm here, and we'll reconstruct that power line from the wind farm to here. And
They'd
it'll
have
just be a big building full of computers using lots of energy.
All right, so are we any farther along than we were 10 minutes ago?
Well,
I was just like, wait, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead. It's getting late. My brain is fried. Go ahead.
I mean, I still have my same question. We don't have square foot limitations on any other use.
Right, and the underlying zoning does not limit square footage anywhere. I mean, the only.
Can I say?
This is specifically within the PUD because we're trying to make complementary uses and encourage the diversity that you pointed out in the later section.
In some ways, I'm more open to what Phil mentioned about maybe we talk about industry and think about a maximum footprint, which is separate from a maximum square footage. I'm more interested in that for industry.
I just wanted to say, we are arguing about the size of a single building.
Yeah.
There's nothing stopping someone
from putting in 10 buildings.
That's right.
In 10 buildings of 125,000 square feet.
Right.
Except the fact that we have a PUD process, and we can say that no, that does not fit what our vision is here, and we do have that flexibility within the PUD process. Mm-hmm. And I think we do, to some extent, have to trust that process, and hopefully having a good planning board that can oversee it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so I think with that being said, I'm personally willing to be a bit flexible, understanding that we do have provisions here that say you're not just going to build a storage and distribution facility if you're working with this PUD overlay, because it specifically says that we're looking for all these other uses in there, and no, we're not going to approve that.
Yeah, so you could put forward nothing but a giant foot warehouse, but we're not going to approve it.
But they could also come forward with a giant 500,000 square foot warehouse in the underlying zoning and say, with a special exception.
Right, and that gives you
so it's there.
That also gives us more incentive to give more in the PUD to incentivize people to give us a PUD.
I think,
It gives us more control over
It
it.
gives us more
the
control.
whole point of the PUD is giving us control over the master planning process for the area, and I don't think it's wrong to have guidelines on limitation of sizes. It's not to say that somebody can't seek a variance, but I would say let's move forward with those. Let's clarify the issue around bed and breakfast and proceed as it is with the square foot in there. Just leave it as is. If somebody really wants to put a 500,000 square foot distribution center in, they can do it in the underlying zoning.
Well, they have to get a special exception, but.
They would, but they still can.
But they could use the ag zone.
So,
So are we moving
we're
this?
gonna move this, I'm not making a motion yet. Move this to public hearing still in December, giving us some time if we're gonna
December
make some more
18th.
changes, December 18th. And we're gonna hopefully have some language from Joseph by then about the,
Short-term rental?
that sort of thing.
So I just
Public
do
hearing,
want to be
December
clear. So there is some conceptual language in here. Is that what you're looking for, or are you looking for a language that is non-specific and agnostic?
I
with
would
respect
love to
that?
see the non-specific language, especially because we're talking about, in a separate discussion and separate zoning amendment, which may or may not pass if we even put it forward.
Yeah.
Changing that language to how we actually regulate those transient uses. And so if that language changes or doesn't change, I'd like this language still to hold either way. And if we could find some kind of language to make that happen.
Yep.
And then say yay or nay to it in December and make any further changes that need to be changed.
Yeah.
So still have that timeline of January to,
Have
you
a
know,
final
have a
hearing
final hearing
on
on
the
any
revised.
changed language that we might have.
Yeah,
We don't even have to have a hearing in December. We can just discuss changes to it and then have the hearing in January.
We could do that as well.
I mean, why have a hearing in December for this if we're not having any other hearings that night? Why don't we just, why
Have a
don't
discussion.
why don't we put it on our agenda to discuss it, and we'll revise the language then and schedule a hearing for January
Okay.
15th. Are you okay with that, Sue?
So not have a hearing on the 18th.
But have a discussion.
You can put it on our agenda.
Or would that
to
be on the
revise the
4th?
language around those questions.
Or we could have a
Oh,
discussion
we
on a
could-
work meeting on the 4th.
We could have it on the 4th if it's not a hearing.
Yeah, we can do that.
If you can have stuff ready by then.
Yeah, as long as I can definitely prepare something, as long as, I just want to make
You
sure.
know what we want.
Exactly. But
So,
that's
so if we do that, not have the hearing, do some changes, then the hearing we would have on those changes is the 15th. Is that correct?
You could at that
January?
time schedule a public
We
hearing.
would have time.
You would have time to schedule another public hearing from the 4th of December. Yeah, that would be.
If we make changes. All right, so December 4th is what we're going to do, but it's not a hearing,
We've got our calendar here.
correct?
And then at that meeting, you can decide if you need to look at it again on the 18th or schedule a hearing on the 15th or 22nd, or, kind of decide from there. If that's the route you want to go, that does leave.
Hang in there, Neil, hang in there.
So,
There's the only thing on the 4th right
15
now
and a
is a
half
hearing on
hours.
that Fairgrounds Road overlay.
I know.
Long day.
You don't have to get up that early,
Oh, I do.
I was up at 5 this morning.
Worked at least 12
All right, so
hours.
December 4, we're going to be discussing more about this.
do we need a motion for the next? No, we don't need a motion.
No,
Okay.
because really,
Can we vote to move this to hearing on January, so people who are.
We could wait to move until we discuss it
Yeah,
further.
I would say that,
on
yeah.
the 4th.
Just in case, whatever.
Yeah.
All right, and the fairgrounds overlay is going to be on the 4th?
on the 4th for a public hearing.
Okay.
And if we have a second, hopefully we can do it in January with the others.
And the public can always give us some input if they want, but it is primarily a discussion about that.
If we do make some, when we discuss next meeting, the TMOD again, if we want to make changes, we can make changes because we have time to hear. Okay,
There
so
is
we could
time.
still make changes
Yes.
next meeting, even if we're not having a public hearing.
Right.
Great.
And just kind of last comment from me, just as one voice from the public. There's so much good stuff in here that you guys have worked on in the past year and a half, like anything from 50,000 extra square foot or whatever. I would speak, if I feel confident saying it's way more important to get this on the ballot in March than anything else from our perspective.
Okay.
We can always make, I mean,
I got a
if we get it on the
question
ballot
for you.
this year and it gets approved, we can always make changes down the
can.
road if we have to.
Yep.
When are you gonna open up skiing?
Looks good. Yeah, the hope is Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, but all, depends on snow conditions and some of the snowmaking, so fingers crossed. But yeah, the team's doing a great job up there. It was really good.
Okay, thank you very much.
And thank you, all of you. I mean, this has been, honestly, it's been a great.
All right.
All right, so,
I was gonna say, Frank, you've been awfully quiet tonight.
He
Are
came
you
for
are you sure we didn't
fairgrounds.
miss anything?
No, I
Okay.
came to speak to this, that
Okay.
there was no need.
Okay.
I will say this, though, I think muddying the waters with any other article would get them all shot down. We're better off as a community supporting this one overlay and then in the future going forward. Too many people will
Confuse the two?
well, they're not only confuse the two, is they're making too many changes and just gonna vote no on everything. If they're against one thing of the articles, they'll vote no on all of them.
Yeah.
They're too confusing to separate. I think that's what I'd caution,
Appreciate that.
thank you.
as much as I am in favor of triple.
It can be confusing.
You gotta watch the videos that will come out. I'm gonna keep this joke is still funny somehow.
Okay, we're almost there, Neil.
Yeah,
Hang in there. Okay, informational and pre-application reviews.
Nobody has approached me about any sort of informational or pre-application reviews unless anybody has showed up online or in person. I'm not aware of anything.
Okay. Other business from members of the board and planning staff. I would like to propose that we put Jessica Mayhew on the Capital Improvement Committee. She has volunteered to be put on that, and I would like to request from the planning board that she be put on there.
I would like to say that this was discussed at the select board meeting, and the select board was in support of it, but then they realized that the CAP committee is actually a subcommittee of the planning board, and it's this board that should be nominating people to it. So
Right.
I will second your motion to nominate Jessica Mayhew to the CAP committee.
Okay?
Can I just ask a question?
Sure.
Is that the type of thing where, like, we'd get a letter normally, or can we informally?
Well, I know when I brought Mark Halloran and Mike Courier to it, I just requested the board put them on the,
Oh, okay.
have them on,
Great.
seat them on the committee. So I
Okay.
assumed that that's what it was from Jessica.
Cool.
And time is of the essence. I think
Okay.
if we can move on this tonight, it would be good.
Okay.
Yep.
Sweet.
All right, so there's a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. And any abstentions? So Jessica is on the Capital Improvement
Awesome.
Committee.
Can I
The
actually
more the
just
merrier.
say something about process?
Sure.
Like, the question about like the letter or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it would be really nice in this town to have a more formal process for onboarding new, not onboarding, pre-onboarding, like actually accepting, approving new board committee members and such, to actually like sit down with them and have a conversation, and not just like rubber stamp with or without a letter, or to actually like have a formal conversation with everybody who wants to be on a committee or a subcommittee or board, whatever. Obviously not if you're elected, then that's a whole other process.
Right.
But like an alternate or whatever it may be, I think a formal process of and conversation would be a really nice idea.
What do
And
you-
I know there are other boards that do this in other towns.
So here's a thought that just occurred to me. What if the select board held an ask the elected officials night for people who might be considering running for public office before the filing period opens? And you know, we could have a
Candidates
couple. No,
Oh, this is
not
pre-
candidates
this is
night,
pre-candidates
but
night.
pre-candidates night
Yeah.
before
Okay.
the filing period opens, so that people who are considering running can ask sitting people
I think
about
it's a
the
great idea.
experience. You know,
Yeah.
what's the ZBA? You know, what's the planning board? What's the conservation commission? What's the energy commission? What's the select board? You know, how do you get on these? Who runs? And you know, just kind of all about town government. What are the boards? Who does what? And you know, if you want to get involved, what are the steps?
Running joke on the high school board was, it's 2 meetings a month and 3 hours a meeting, and that was all there was to it.
Yeah.
Because it was hard to find members, so that's what we did.
Yeah. For the
That was the state
for
of
the school board?
Yeah, for the high school board.
Amy Baker.
So as the board gets closer to March, to the time in which the board will switch to an elected body, I would also recommend that the board may want to revisit the bylaws, because our bylaws right now do reference the board as an appointed board. And obviously, you know, the bylaws don't supersede town meetings, so that just happens. It's an elected board now. But once the board becomes fully elected and no member is left who was appointed by the select board, the board will take on responsibility for appointing its own alternates. So the board will want to have in its bylaws, ideally, an outline of what process is desirable for this group to begin the appointing of alternates.
We also get to appoint our own,
Alternates and
like
interim members.
interim members.
Yep,
It's a
filling of
really good idea.
vacancies.
So unless Matt steps down from his position before a town meeting, that's not going to happen until 2027.
Correct. Yep.
So maybe after new members are seated in April, that can be one of the first agenda items. So, well, election of officers, and then discuss the rules and guidelines, and propose those changes for adoption in 2027 once the board is elected.
I don't think I would say that that's something, the board needs to have that as its top priority right now, just something to be aware of.
It can
on the
happen
radar.
after town meeting, right?
Okay, any public comments? No?
I would like to applaud the public input that we had tonight. I very much
Yeah.
appreciate hearing from the public when we discuss these things.
It's very helpful.
I agree. I think in the future, when we see students here, we should remember that they're only supposed to be here for 45 minutes. And we should give them an out.
I thought they were supposed to be here for the whole meeting, so I didn't know.
No, I think I remember seeing them here before. We're going on 2 hours here. I think there's we
I
should
gotta
stop.
remember.
There was one I knew who came up to me at the beginning.
That girl, like,
I
she
gotta
was
think that he left.
All right, so now we're at the very last item on the agenda.
I
which we
move
all
to
vote-
adjourn.
Motion is made. Do we have a second?
Whoa, a stalemate.
What's this for?
To adjourn.
Oh.
Brad, you can second
that
it.
one.
Yes.
I was second that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed?
Hey.
I think we
that was
got
three-
it.
I think that was 3-2, but you.